Yes, when we say emotional,
I like
there
you.
is
You're
like a
good.
characterization of what emotional means, and yes, that idea is attached to feminine emotions.
Yeah, I'm gonna come and challenge a brain scientist. That's how vain I am. Okay, whatever.
Well, that's what you're doing when I'm repeating her statements. You are
Tom, are you a
disagreeing.
brain scientist? I believe that women who think that leadership is a masculine trait will say that, but I doubt most women think that because most women don't hate themselves.
Yeah, this is what I see. Tom,
No,
this is literally my example. This is literally my example.
Viewing it. Yes, masculine traits. Yes, they say that
I'm
men
Tom, I
need
have a
to be better at being men. Yes.
Yeah.
It's why would I let a man lead me when he can't even lead himself?
Yes, but that's not saying the term masculine trait. This is what I'm asking.
Doing a man's job.
That
Tom
is
is
what
coping.
masculinity
You're
is.
the
That's what
man.
masculinity
You're the
is.
man.
You guys can make up your own definitions for words, but I'm talking about in
Tom,
reality.
no,
In order for us to have a conversation, we all have to be able to use words that mean the same thing.
We're using the same word.
We are all using the same
them.
definition. You're the one that's off, bro.
Wait, no, you
Hold
are
on.
not.
If
No, you
I
are
may.
not.
If I may.
Tom, you
not
want the
using the same
entire
definition.
panel to
No,
conform
hold
to
on.
you.
No, hold on, chill.
The reason the etymology does not matter is because when we say a word, it is in reference to a concept or idea, okay? Every single time. So it doesn't matter if the sky used to be blue and we had a different meaning for green before and green used to refer to something else. We have a commonality for how it's, or like a normal way that we refer to something with that word today.
It's not necessarily.
Behavior is the
on,
behavior is the. I don't want you to interrupt
more
me.
sense. Well, you're not
I
making
want
sense
you
to
to
me.
let me
I want to
finish so
ask you
you
what
can
you
figure-
mean.
I'm about to make the example, Tom.
Stop
Please.
silencing
Okay.
black voices, Tom.
I'm glad he said it because it was
You're
in.
not making
it's
any
in
more
me.
sense to me, so I want to ask you, is this what you mean? Okay, listen.
Tom, when you say,
shut up. I am not
Oh
doing
my
anything.
God.
I am making a descriptive claim. I have said this
Oh,
1,000
no.
times. You guys keep going into the prescriptive. I am
Tom?
just describing the way that we use language. I am not saying
Tom?
we ought to use
Call his
language
name.
this way.
No, it just means that they're using the
oh my
definition wrong.
God.
Okay,
Yo, if I can
again,
reel it back
you
real
can't
quick.
use the definition wrong if everybody's using the word that way. You
You're using
can't
the
use
word
it
wrong.
wrong.
Orange is a
You
new
can't.
black, guys.
That is by
Okay.
definition what masculine and feminine are the opposites of each other in that.
Not
intersectional
necessarily
way.
opposites,
They're
but
not
they
opposite.
are. Yeah, they're not
Or like
opposites, but they.
yeah,
but
contrasting averages of behavior or physical differences.
Yes.
It's like
The identity is whatever. This way, it gets circular, right? The identity is whatever you think it is. Like everyone has their own conceptualization of what a woman and a man is, and then what they identify with.
Told you don't do the
so.
mental.
Hold up, Gail.
I'm not going to go off on your totally unrelated tangent
It's
right
not
now.
unrelated.
We're trying
I'm saying,
to. It is
I'm not
unrelated.
going to give you credit for a bullshit statement based on just like, oh, women care about their appearance more. Like,
I just said I'm not saying that. I just
is
said
that?
it. Yes, you
just said he's
you
setting up a
people seriously
hypothetical.
cannot engage. Like this is insane. It hurts my brain. Just because it is not a biological reality does not change the category whatsoever. Because as I've said a million times, the biology is not essential to the category.
Tom, is there biology informing leadership being a masculine trait?
Yes, but that is not part of the definition. That's not what it means. It does not mean that thing.
What do you mean feminine emotion?
You're sick.
Like,
You're
things
unhealthy.
like crying, like, oh,
I mean,
come give me a
Sassafras
hug
cries
and-
4
Yeah.
times a week just because of me.
Because
alone.
of you!
So, yes,
You
just
make me
because
cry.
of me. Who knows how many
You're
times
so
she's crying
mean to
because of
me.
all of the other stuff.
Love that. Wouldn't cry if there wasn't love. How far
I don't cry. I don't.
You need
Unless
zinc.
Tom's yelling at me, but
You
like,
need to
but that's why it's bad to gender stuff, because it's like you say, oh well, you're a woman, so you must cry. Like a lot of women don't. We're not like
Okay.
that. There
I
are
didn't
women
say-
that are.
I
that's why it's like-
didn't say woman though. I am very particular about using the term feminine because I think men can be feminine and I think women can be masculine and I think that's okay. I think
And
we
where
have
do
to
we
get rid of this like attachment that people have to like I'm a man so I must be 100% masculine or I'm a woman so I must be 100% feminine.
True, but we
You're gonna-
also got to acknowledge that we live in a society where usually what
Oh,
is
wow,
considered
we live in
feminine
a
is
society. Thank you so
Tom,
much.
stop.
Oh
Thank
my
you so
God.
much. We
No.
live in a society.
Oh my god, I love it. Every time I talk, Tom has to pull this shit. can't handle women speaking truth, that feminine stuff is seen as a negative, right? So like, and yes, I will say the
really don't
thing that
think that's the case. I really think that that's like
Are
a
you shitting
line
me?
we push. I am not shitting you. I'm actually like, granted, like you're not gonna be on the big screen. I will say that. Like we're never going to make the movie about a wife that cooks dinner for her family every day. Like
Okay.
we're never gonna make that movie. Like the feminine stuff is never gonna be seen in that light. But I don't think that it's necessarily like derided or looked down upon the same way that a lot of people describe.
Okay,
but it-
I've got
but
to
the
I've got
prime
to
example
disagree with
is-
I've got to disagree with you, Sass. I don't think
course you do.
the reason men view crying as like a feminine thing is because it's negative. I think they label it that way because the idea of crying and being open about it is divorced from the idea of what society has painted as a man. So it's not necessarily that it's negative. It's that it doesn't identify with what people try to say the male experience is.
Okay, but are we,
Again, I
like,
don't think
but-
it's male. I
Great
think
point you're making, actually, because we've forgotten the history of humans and men specifically being the force of emotional values for everything up into the 20th century, essentially, and the late 19th century. Men, I mean, we can look at history, writing, poetry, Shakespeare. Everything comes from men's emotional values of depth. That's where we get these ideas from. And then somewhere along the line, it's not okay. Meanwhile, Kerouac and the people of his decades were feeling and loving each other, having the same emotional issues and depth, and if not deeper conversations than the modern day. And we aren't giving credence to that. We're forgetting that men are deep creatures of love and interest.
Yes, you are, and yes, but we also acknowledge that, like, stop pretending that like some men and women shame men for crying. Oh, you're crying, you're weak. You're not a real man because you're crying. Like that happens.
How do we get past that? What's the message we can give?
And men and women should stop doing that. That's what
we're doing
my
the thing
point
where
was.
again we're describing men being emotional as crying, and I'm saying like I don't know that like that's necessarily going to be the case.
Because
like,
when we speak about emotional vulnerability, we are talking about crying, laughing, and showing positive emotion.
Why would that be how men, like I understand why we think that is the way that men would express their emotions.
Because
but
women
I personally have
will
never
take
seen
their
it that way.
vulnerability. No, let me not. I actually want to say that.
Wait. Women are actually more likely to have like those types of
Yes.
emotions. Like they are actually more likely to do that. So of course that's going to be part of the stereotype that's attached to them.
Then that's
Not more likely to
I am
express
lay-based
those
crier.
nature or nurture.
Not have those.
Well, no, estrogen actually makes it to where women are more likely to cry, more likely to get upset, more likely.
Don't.
No, I'm telling you,
That
this
is
is a
true.
factual thing. Women's brains are different because of estrogen, and they are more likely to be emotional because of estrogen. This is just a factual thing. And not only that, but also, hold on, not only that, but men are likely to be emotional because of testosterone. But men's testosterone levels out and evens out over time to where their brain adjusts to the testosterone rates, whereas women's estrogen levels continue going up and down after puberty for the rest of their freaking lives.
What even is the takeaway from what you're saying? Men have this superpower where they get to be stoic?
No,
women don't like adjust.
All right, I'm about to kick everybody out, and I'm just going to talk by myself. Okay, so the estrogen levels going up and down does make women more emotional. Just as when men are going through puberty and their testosterone levels are going up, they are going to be more emotional because of it. Women end up just being more emotional more often because of these things. This is just a biological fact.
What do you mean when you say emotional? Because we were talking about crying.
Well, so
what do you mean?
We all know what I mean when I'm talking about emotional. We're talking about like, the way that you express emotions.
No, that's why I'm asking you, because I don't know what you mean, right?
So we're talking about like being sad. We're talking about crying. We're talking about.
See, again, like I don't know why crying is like the standard for emotionality. Like I can't figure out why we keep reverting to this thing.
I'm alone, man. Y'all really coming for him on his platform? He should kick everybody, man.
I'm trying to get.
I came for you, but then Tom had to start talking about estrogen. But I can come for you. If
These
you want.
are just
That's where I
factual
came
things. Like it's just a fact.
Hades
There is
said, I
no.
want to smoke
This
everybody.
Yes, when we say emotional,
I like
there
you.
is
You're
like a
good.
characterization of what emotional means, and yes, that idea is attached to feminine emotions. It just is. Like, but that is what we mean when we say emotional. Yes, men can get loud
I
and
hate when you
angry.
guys said that too. So like what Seth was saying earlier about like how doing things like feminine traits and masculine traits, I get, Prophet, that like you think you want to like destigmatize those notions. There's just a possibility to like if you work through like a gender abolitionist lens, you don't need to feminize or masculinize like traits or properties or whatever. So like calling emotions feminine or masculine. Now I get that like that's more appealing to some. Look, at the end of the day, it's like a semantic argument. Would it be more easy to convince people that they should be more feminine and masculine, and women to be more masculine and men to be more feminine? Or would it be more easy to convince people that there are no feminine or masculine traits? And there's a disagreement there on which one's the best. But like, personally, I think calling things feminine and masculine, feminine traits and like masculine traits or feelings, it's just reinforcing negative stereotypes that have no place. They're not helping people to break out of negative socialization that is hurting them.
They're not just stereotypes. They are patterns that people actually recognize. Like people are actually doing these things. Those patterns actually exist in reality.
When you recognize a pattern, now you're going to say that there's like an essentialist quality to that, and I'm going to say that
that is not true.
Let me
Nobody's
finish.
making those arguments.
Yeah, no, that's
Tom just made an estrogen argument, so I'm pretty sure I know what Tom is.
On
what
estrogen, on estrogen, that is totally different. Yes, estrogen is a biological thing that is going to make it to where you are going to do these things. And I want to let you finish, but just before you do, I am having a brain scientist on pretty soon. Her name is Luann Brizendine. She actually wrote the book on the female brain where it talks about these things that I learned about this, and so she is coming on soon to have the interview. So if you would like to come and challenge her on this, I would be happy to have you on to talk to her about it. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna come and challenge a brain scientist. That's how vain I am. Okay, whatever.
Well, that's what you're doing when I'm repeating her statements. You are.
Tom, are you a brain scientist?
I just said I'm repeating her. I can use authorities to repeat their information back, and you are challenging.
You know what?
that.
Maybe I'll come. That's fine.
Okay.
So Tom, are you asserting his claim?
No. I'm gonna finish my point now. So,
yeah, hold on. What Katie said.
You can recognize patterns in society. That's the descriptive that you're making, right? But the point is, we are talking about why are these patterns there? And if we don't like those patterns, how do we change them? So I'd argue because of socialization, those patterns exist. And then you might say, that's probably a bit of that and probably a bit of like estrogen and like female and male brains. You can say whatever you want. The end of the day, what we can affect is socialization. And what you want to do is challenge negative beliefs to try to deconstruct negative socialization. It's really not that complicated. So what's the point of like pointing out, like, yes, you observing a pattern doesn't mean that it doesn't exist there because of socialization. You know this.
Tom, you're making it sound like it's so inherent that, like, even if we change socialization, that it, no matter what, it's going to stay that way. That's what it sounds like you're saying.
What is it we're saying we're going to change in this case? That women are emotional?
To take over the world and change women and men and social constructs globally.
Are we saying that we're going to change whether or not they're emotional, or are we saying we're going to change whether or not we categorize it as feminine? Which I'm not understanding.
Yeah, we need to go to the tribes of Africa.
Categorize it as feminine.
Yes, that's what Katie said.
Okay, yeah,
so
I mean, like, I kind of like the category.
I agree that categorizing. Sorry, go ahead, Kuro.
Oh, I think the categories are dope. Like, I love the categorization of things because I think that you should be able to point at a broad swath of like characteristics or expressions and say you need to lean more towards this or lean more towards that. The issue I think becomes when like people like overly attach themselves to one thing. Like that seems to be what
the reason
or
so the reason why I don't like
making femininity and masculinity useless. That's what this argument.
But it doesn't.
It is useless. Yes.
Time has made masculinity and femininity useless because it changed over time.
Unmasked itself.
Man, come on.
Yeah, so hold on, wait, because like in my actual
the viewpoints of how it's been viewed and how it's been portrayed have changed immensely throughout the past, let's just say 1,000 years. So we're at a different point right now.
Not immensely. It's changed some though.
Some depends on where you are on the planet, but I mean, even now, you can look at certain tribes in Africa where men are the one who paint themselves, and they're the ones who show the plumage, and women are the ones who do the business. And it's only in the Western world where we just use these ideals as one monolith for all relationships, and it's kind of foul because there's 8 billion of us. We all got an ass, we all got a stink, we all got an opinion. That means there's 8 different types of ways.
But we're beyond we're beyond socialization. We're just talking about the human emotional spectrum that you commonly.
Hold on, because you guys are skipping over what Kuro said. Hold on, because you're skipping over what Kuro said. Like, just having the pattern there means that we have something that we can categorize and we want to put a label on it so that we can communicate that pattern. That's what Kuro's saying. Yeah, now, saying that you want to change how much we put pressure people to fit into that pattern is one thing. Having gendered expectations is different than being able to communicate that gender exists.
So, it's very normal and human to look for patterns. It's also very easy for humans to find patterns. Whether those are the correct patterns that we identify is a different story. For example, a lot of stereotypes that we think are negative, like types of racism, for example, are also patterns that people see. And we reject those categorizations because we say that they're wrong. But gender is not yet recognized in that same way. That's fine.
No, we challenge whether or not those patterns are inherent to the race, but we don't challenge whether or not those patterns actually exist.
So then, Tom, you're going back to an essentialist argument.
No, I'm saying that it's not essentialist. I'm saying that are you saying that I'm challenging whether or not it's essentialist? Yes, I'm saying that if we see that black people commit crimes at a higher rate, that doesn't necessarily mean that there is something inherent or essential to them. That means that they are committing crimes at a higher rate. But we still see the pattern that they are committing crimes at a higher rate. Like, we don't just not acknowledge that part.
Then let me explain myself. We wouldn't say that because we recognize a pattern that black people commit more crime than white people, we should say, hey, white person, you should be more black.
No, please don't.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
the
retarded.
problem.
I don't understand. Wait. I don't even understand what that means. Why would we say white person be more black? How does that make sense?
Because Prophet's argument is that we should tell people to lean in. It's fine to be more feminine. It's fine to be more masculine. And my argument is that doing that is actually something we want to turn away from and not categorize it as such. And then you say, well, there are patterns. We see women acting this way. We see feminine people acting in a feminine way. So when we want men to act more feminine, that's what we say. So you can find patterns. And we wouldn't tell, if you wanted a black person to commit less crime, you wouldn't tell them to be more white because white people commit less crime. That's fucking racist. You wouldn't do that. We don't approve of that in society.
The examples aren't.
I don't think that women have this, like, what is the word? Monopoly on femininity. I think that this is where, like, because you're kind of Katie, you're kind of pre-baking in this supposition of, like, saying that someone should be feminine is saying they should act like a woman, when I don't believe that that's the case. I think that
I
think that a man being feminine would look almost entirely different from a woman being feminine.
No, I agree with you, but when Tom is talking about pattern recognition, he's recognizing those patterns predominantly in women. So I'm responding to him. I know you're not saying that.
Okay, so let me, hold on, because this doesn't, so the issue with what you just said is that we don't actually categorize what is black based on what black people do more often, whereas we do categorize femininity based on what women do more often. So that
we can agree that you guys are making different arguments right now, right?
Culturally, we might say this is a black thing culturally, but we wouldn't say you are more black or because you commit more crimes.
Yes, we would. If you ever go to the black community, they will be like, that's. I don't know.
It does. Yes, it is. Yes, that's a little bit different, but yes, they'll be like, that's
some nigga shit. Like that's
yes, but we don't actually categorize you being black based on whether or not you do those things. Generally,
maybe you do not. I don't know if you go outside in the ATL, but like.
I grew up in an all-black neighborhood. Like, yes, I understand what you're saying. I agree that happens. I'm saying that the overall concept generally is not based on whether or not you do things. The overall concept generally is based on whether or not you have dark skin, wider nose, like, you know, like an afro. Like, that's generally what the concept is built on.
Just to be clear, you guys are making different arguments, and I was responding to both of you at the same time. So when I was making my analogy, I'm talking to Tom doing pattern recognition with like, so yeah, I'm not talking to you, Prophet. That's all I want.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because I agree with you. I just know that Tom doesn't agree. So according to Tom's own perspective, yeah, I think my analogy stands. So.
No, yeah, Tom and I had this argument once. It's basically like because Tom was like saying that like we categorize what is feminine based off what we see women do and masculine based off what we see men do. And I think that these are categorizations that are like whole and separate, and that while men and women tend to lean towards one of these things, there are actual definitions for these things that have nothing to do with men or women.
I disagree with you,
the definitions do have to do with men or women. Yes, the definitions do. If you look it up in any dictionary, it's going to say femininity is something that's strongly correlated with women, and masculinity is something that's strongly correlated with men. That is like the definition.
I just want to point out,
argued for centuries. Though.
The femininity and masculinity as terms are very useful, and we should use them. The problem with those terms is that instead of I'm sorry, Katie, I'm going to disagree with you on whether or not we should use them, because it's easy. To me, it's useful to have ideas or terms that are easily communicable.
Yes, it's a semantics thing.
Yeah, for sure. But
it's gendered expectations versus the terms.
The problem, yes, but that's the problem with those terms, is that when somebody says I'm engaging in a feminine trait, what they're doing is they're trying to use that term as a bludgeon against me to say that I'm acting in a way that is divorced from the self, which is not the case. It is not the case that only women cry. It is not the case that generally women cry. It is the case that humans have painful experiences, and they all deal with them in different ways. And one of those common ways is through crying.
But you understand that that's not the case for like the opposite all the time. Like, women have become more and more capable of doing things that are considered masculine without it being stigmatized whatsoever. They're able to say, I carry these sorts of masculine traits. I'm strong. I'm independent. I'm a leader. Like, they have all sorts of things that they're able to call masculine now that isn't stigmatized for them to do. And destigmatizing men doing things that they consider feminine is just a thing that we can destigmatize.
I disagree that we destigmatize those things.
The stigmatization comes from using those terms as bludgeons.
Then why are women able to do masculine things?
Okay, wait, women are able to do the masculine things.
They want the economy to go
stigmatization,
go
not
outside
legalization.
and call a woman masculine. Like that, they are not gonna. That's still not a thing that they like.
You wouldn't call the woman masculine, but you would call a trait masculine.
Yes, in the same way you would call a trait feminine, but if you call a man feminine, it's still using it as a bludgeon.
No, hold on. Wait. That's not... Okay, hold on. We're talking about traits right now. We're saying that women can say, I carry these masculine traits, and it's not stigmatized. But if a man says, I carry these feminine traits, it is stigmatized. That's what we're saying.
Tom,
is that women
how many women you think are comfortable being told that they have masculine traits or that they're acting masculine?
I hear women very consistently describe some of their traits as masculine, very consistently.
Are those women erudite?
Of having no.
Can you name another woman?
Yes,
give an example specifically.
Whatever podcast uses masculine as a pejorative constantly. I mean, that's a great example. Fresh and Fit uses masculine as a pejorative constantly. The red pill community, that whole ideology of craziness, thinks that masculine on women is somehow negative and feminine on men is a negative. It's all just a stigmatism of the opposites.
They do, but what they're saying is that they're upset that it has become destigmatized for women to have masculine traits. That is their issue.
No, they're mad about that men have lost control over the masculinity of women.
Yeah, they believe
that's what we're saying. Yes,
on masculinity.
It's the same thing.
Well, okay, but Tom, you're implying that there's none.
That is the same thing. Yes, you are saying that they are upset that it has become acceptable for women to have masculine traits and that they want to stop them from doing that. Yes, that is the same thing.
It's not okay.
What do you think the difference is there? Why? Stop laughing and shaking your head. What do you think the difference is there? That's the same thing.
Both a lot to unpack on.
Apples and oranges, but okay. They're both fruit. They're both fruit.
Wait.
You can't just say that. What is the difference? You can't just keep laughing and shaking your head. What is the difference?
Hi, Tom.
And yet
I'm not even letting- I just don't. What I
There's like,
okay.
can we like have like a specific like masculine trait that you don't think that women are
I just gave an example. I just gave like 3 examples: being
you
strong,
didn't.
being
You were shouting,
independent, being leaders.
No,
I gave
Tom.
those 3 examples earlier, and I said that these are examples of where women would say that they are more masculine, even being loud and being domineering. Like women have
don't
lots
call
of
themselves
traits.
masculine.
No, they don't call themselves masculine. They call their traits masculine. I've said this 1,000 times.
Don't.
Yes, they do.
Okay,
You are
Tom.
just wrong. You are just blatantly wrong.
No,
You are just
you're
100%
fucking
wrong
wrong.
here.
Emotional,
No, you are totally wrong.
Very feminine
You
right now.
are
You
so-
guys are like, you're not emotionally controlling yourselves. You need to come back, be more masculine, right? Stoicism.
No.
Emotional
No.
stability. Okay.
Are you
No.
emotionally manipulating us right now? Are you fuckboying us?
I'm just allowing us to, just take 3 seconds. I've been on my Headspace app. Just take 3 seconds. Let the boat pass. All right.
I
Let's
think
move
if
on.
I want to have an emotion, I'm allowed to have it. So I'm gonna keep doing that.
We can kill each other in very like stable ways. Okay. We don't gotta like,
I
attack.
don't need to kill anyone. Tom,
I know we love the
you-
blood sport, and the blood sport has become us, but
that has nothing to do with it. Okay, Tom,
Yes.
are you done with the meme so we can talk now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just talk to you anyway.
Sure.
It seems that you think do you think it is generally very common among women in like the Western world to describe themselves or things that they do as masculine?
Yes, again, not themselves, but traits that they have. Yes, things that they do as masculine. So that doesn't mean all things that they do can be masculine. So like a woman being tall, being called masculine, that is not a thing that she would be happy about. But if we said, hey, you're a great leader, this is a masculine trait that you have, yes, I think women would generally be proud of that. Yes.
Have you talked to women?
Fem Sapien
Yes.
was on. Fem Sapien was on
I don't
record.
think you've ever talked to women.
Yeah,
I-
Fem Sapien was on record talking to Destiny, saying, "I have a masculine trait that I utilize
There's
in the work."
women say this all the time.
Yeah,
dude.
this is what I mean.
I
So
really
like
feel like
you
this
are
ain't
in a
that common. I
space.
feel like y'all are pointing
in a
out like
space. In a space.
pointing out like
You're
unicorns, but
you're
like,
in a space that like if you bring up
We're sexualizing this
femmes
person.
who are talking to Destiny, like it's going to be people with a certain type of fit.
But
Generally,
not just that, like women
ma-
at work, women, my sister's a lesbian. She considers herself to have a lot of masculine traits as well. Her wife considers herself to have a lot of masculine traits. I have 2 other sisters that will both talk about and brag about the fact that they have masculine traits. I have women that I
Oh, are you
work with
getting
that
this
brag
from
about the fact that they
lesbians?
have masculine traits. Like there are tons of people who have masculine traits that they're proud about, but they would not call themselves masculine overall. No.
okay. So you think most women in the Western world say leadership is a masculine trait, and I'm a great leader. This masculine trait that I have. That's
No,
something
in
women
the
are
world, in the United States, yes.
They call
in
it
the
a
United
surge.
States. Okay.
They call
Okay,
Then
can
I'll
I-
just have to agree to disagree with you on that.
Can I
'cause
throw a
that's
different
bullshit.
theory out there?
You don't
Because
think
what I've seen, I
leadership
don't know
is a
that.
masculine trait? Is that what you're saying?
Hey,
Of
Katie?
course, first of all, I don't think leadership is a masculine trait. But even if some people, I believe that women who think that leadership is a masculine trait will say that. But I doubt most women think that because most women don't hate themselves.
Yeah, this is what I see. Tom, wait, no. This is literally my example. This is literally my example.
Way of viewing it.
Tom. This is literally my example. Like what I have seen is instead a rewriting of the narrative that now that anyone can do leadership, and this is in line with your definition, by the way. So I don't know why you're disagreeing with this so much. If now that anyone can do leadership, men or women, it's no longer a masculine trait. It's just a
that's
trait
not
that anybody
in line
can
with my
have.
definition. No,
Wait,
that is
it
not
would
in
be
line with my
because your-
definition. No, hold on. Wait, my definition is based
Your
on what
definition is
people
that it's
do,
correlative.
not what they can do. So I am saying that men are more likely to be leaders. Therefore, a leadership trait is considered masculine. Yes.
But like, but have you guys not heard like
Stupid.
girl bossing? And like, we usually when they talk
Yeah,
about
like,
why
this is-
female
this
leaders are
narrative is getting
good, it
rewritten.
is because they are bringing feminine abilities to it. They're a good leader because they listen to everyone, that they're incorporating all this. So a female leader is can be a different description than like what is considered a male leader, which could just be like, oh, he's a boss and he just tells people what to do and he's just assertive, versus like what the conception of like a good female leader.
Yes, but the
So
reason that
to
we
say
have
that it's
the
like
term,
a masculine thing isn't.
No, the
See, this is
reason
what
you
I see
have
a
the
lot,
term
the
girl
rewriting.
boss is because it's considered to be less likely for women. Therefore, they created this whole label for women who have masculine traits, and they try to feminize it. This is what we're talking about. Yes.
Let's not confabulate a advertising concept, which people often do, with an actual like representation and a platform that people have that they
Yeah,
didn't have.
you guys are conflating a lot. Now I'm just like, we need
I'm
to
not
bring it back.
conflating anything. We're talking about like traits that are considered masculine or feminine.
Yeah,
That
but
is what we're talking about.
Tom, you were just saying that it's like these women were saying, yes, I'm owning my masculine traits. And I was just describing how there's like feminine traits as being a leader.
Yes,
I'm
I
pretty
don't disagree
sure,
with
pretty
that.
sure
That's
girl
different,
boss came from a Afro
They're not real leaders.
way of performing, of existing in society and
Yes,
relationships.
and black women are considered to have a lot of masculine traits where they are the head of the household. They have to raise their kids by themselves. They have to be more domineering. They have a lot of traits that they consider to be masculine, that most people would consider to be masculine, and they are praised for it.
Which is also black women also like hate the word masculine. Like I don't know where you've been around black women, but like at least in my experience, in my limited experience of being black and having an entire family of black people, they don't like that word.
What do you mean they don't like the word?
They
What does
don't
that
like
mean?
it as like a self-descriptor. They don't like the word masculine as a self-descriptor. Like that's not like a and you can say they no, you can say that no, I'll just say I have these masculine traits. They don't like that either. They
So
don't like any of anything about that.
Yes,
It's
I will
when
commonly
women-
hear black women say that they are not happy that they have to take on masculine traits. I will commonly hear black women say that they wish black men in the black community would step up to where they did not have to have masculine traits. I hear this very commonly. Yes, they are not happy
They
that they
say
have to take on
masculine
masculine traits.
traits?
Yes, masculine traits, yes. They say
It's
that
the-
men
Tom, I
need
have
to
a
be
question.
better at
I've never
being
heard
men.
masculine traits.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's why would I let a man lead me when he can't even lead himself?
Yes, but that's not saying the term masculine trait.
I've heard
this is what I'm asking.
doing a man's job.
You're the
That
man.
is what
Coping.
masculinity
You're
is.
the
That's what
man.
masculinity
You're the
is.
man.
That's what it is. I understand
Tom?
that you want
Tom?
a different
Oh my
word to
fucking
describe
God.
this, but you can't also say,
no.
I want a different word to describe this, so I'm going to pretend that it doesn't actually mean this in reality. You can't do that. You have to engage with reality in order for us to have this conversation.
Tom, I have no issue engaging with reality. When somebody says be a man and you say that's masculine, you are ignoring half this panel, if not more, because we are making a separation between those things. It's fine that you
What
are
is the
to
separation?
essentialize
Wait, what
brain
is the separation?
to not do that.
What
is the separation? Oh my fucking
Don't
God.
fall into this. Don't fall into this.
No, what is the separation? No, because she
Can-
already
Mom, we
agreed
had a
with my
full
definition. No, she already agreed with my definition. So she can't actually separate it if she's
What was
already
your
agreed with my
definition again?
definition.
Not
What was your
agree with your
definition?
definition.
That
Cool.
she did agree with my definition. She said that something that is masculine is something that is more likely for men to do. She did earlier.
No, I agree that that's
definition
how
is correlative.
humans choose to use that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I think that's retarded.
Wait, that's literally
very
what
bad.
I just said. Wait, Katie, literally just a second ago, when I said you have to engage with reality, I'm saying that I need you to use words the way that I'm using them. Otherwise, we cannot have a conversation here. If you're going to use
Tom?
words to mean something totally different, if you're going to to use it to mean what you want
That's
it to mean,
okay.
that it's going to be impossible to have a conversation.
That's fine.
Hold
but
on, hold
you
on. No, 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 no,
realize
no, no,
that
no.
I'm
Hold
not
on,
the
no,
only
stop,
one
'cause
here
y'all
who's
been going
making a
back and forth.
separation.
But what is the separation? That's what I'm saying. If you agree with the
I've been
definition
making-
and that's
I've been
what
trying.
people
I've been trying.
Azzy,
Can I give
chill.
can I give the
There
separation?
is, hold on. If you agree that that is what the word means, then saying that this is
I
something
agree
that
that's
men
how
do.
you use it.
Yes, and so I'm saying, how would you separate it in what I'm calling masculine? How would you do that?
Okay, so it seems this is like a very rough. I'm still working out the full like language of how to fully describe this, but it seems roughly that masculinity is the enforcement of will, while femininity is the acceptance of will. Roughly, these are like how I would very roughly. These are still it's still a very crude definition, but like this is roughly how I would describe these things.
Okay, and if I get a chance, please, which is that was like, what? That was funny.
I don't understand what you don't understand about. Do you not understand the
No,
word
I
enforcement?
understood it. I just don't understand how that has to go along with masculinity or femininity. But
You
anyway,
don't understand how masculinity is the enforcement of will. You don't understand how masculinity is the enforcement of will.
The enforcement
You
of
see how
will.
I speak and you shut up? That's masculinity.
I think that's
no, no, no,
offensive.
no. See,
Like,
and
I
this
think
is
that's
the,
offensive.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about conflating. Where now you're just taking about things that actually happen in practice versus what is when we talk about essentials. Like masculinity isn't what you do; it's who you are. All right, and which is how would I say mirrored by what you do, but it's not. It's not the same. How would I
So
describe
like
that?
if you're a person that enforces will,
So
then
it's like
you are
saying-
masculine. If you
It's
are a
like
person that
saying,
accepts
saying
will, you are
football.
feminine.
It's like saying because most men play football, football is masculine. But
That is
if
what
women
masculinity means, yes.
That's what Tom says. That's
Yes.
Tom's
I know,
entire
I'm not
point. That's
saying
why it's
Tom.
stupid.
That is what
that's
Google
dumb.
says. That's what the
Oh,
dictionary
you're
says.
so
Literally
wrong.
every dictionary says that. That is what masculinity is. You guys can make up your own definitions for words, but I'm talking about in reality.
no,
In order for us to have a conversation, we all have to be able to use words that mean the same thing.
We're using the same
We
word.
are all using the
We're
same
them.
definition. You're the one
just
that's
that-
off, bro.
Wait, no, you
Hold
are
on.
not.
If
No,
if
you
I
are
may,
not.
If I may.
Tom, you
not
want the
using the same
entire
definition.
panel to
No,
conform
hold
to
on.
you.
No, hold on, chill. What Kuro just gave as a
Classic
definition,
Tom.
literally nobody agrees with that definition. The definition that I'm using is literally what every dictionary will give you. And Katie even agrees that that's what every dictionary will give you, and she agrees that that's how people use the word. Pragmatics are how we come to definitions. That is how we come to understand words, is through pragmatics. How people use a word is how a word means something. That is what it is.
How people use a word is not how a word is not what a word means. That's not accurate at all.
You
That is
understand.
100%
You
how
understand that
we
the
use it.
problem Katie has with you
You
right
can use
now
a word the
is that
wrong
when you're
way, and then what?
No,
Are you
he
just saying that
used the word
No,
correctly.
colloquially.
Tom is not using the
not
word
just one person.
okay, the way the word is being used is
I'm
correct.
sorry, Six. Can you just like zoom out? I can't take you seriously. I'm sorry. You probably about to shoot some bars, and I just need you to
Now
think
on.
on your face.
It's like
This is what you get.
No, the eyes are better. No.
Yes,
It's
I'm
like
not
a
saying.
PBS show where he's like enunciating and sounding
I
out
am
the
not
word.
saying because I use the
After
word that
Six
way that
talks,
that's
I
what
have
it
to talk.
means. I'm not saying that just because I use the word that way that that's what it means. I'm saying because people in general use the word that way that that's what it means. You go to any dictionary, it will outline how it comes to its definitions, and it will tell you that it will come to definitions based on colloquial usages.
You think
and
people
how-
in general cannot use a word wrong?
Hold on.
The majority of
Please,
people
stop.
can use a word
Please.
wrong of a field.
Yes.
And
No,
the
no,
people
they
who are
literally
like,
no,
can use
no.
the
The
word correct.
majority of people
That means those
literally
people are
cannot
correct and
use a word
everyone
wrong.
else is wrong.
No, the
No,
majority of
colloquialism
people
is
literally
just common
listen.
format
Hold
of
on.
locution.
The majority of people literally cannot use a word wrong. If the majority of people say the sky is green tomorrow, the sky is literally green. That's what the word means now. Yes, that is how language works. Go to any dictionary anywhere. Go to any linguistics anywhere.
Wait,
it will
you
all
can't
explain
appeal to
exactly
the
what I'm saying.
dictionary and say that how people say something is what the. Sometimes the
dictionary
dictionary
comes
conflates
after
with what how people
No,
use a word.
Okay.
Don't do both.
Okay.
Just because a word,
I'm
no,
saying
just
they're the
because
same
a
thing.
word, no, just because because a word evolves does not negate the historical context of the word.
Thank
take
you.
it
Thank
into
you.
reality. I've been trying to say
Thank
that
you.
for the
The
longest
historical
time.
context doesn't mean anything.
Rhetoric,
It means
just
literally
because
nothing.
rhetoric-
It means literally
just
nothing.
because rhetoric, just
Yes.
because rhetoric can change, and rhetoric and colloquialism can change and evolve a word to mean something new. It's an added definition, and that's why they typically say that there's what would they say?
Etymology means literally nothing in this conversation. It means
that
literally
is
nothing.
the most ignorant thing, Tom. Tom,
It doesn't-
please stop.
no,
saying
listen,
that.
it does. Listen,
that
please,
forever.
listen. You guys are killing me here. Okay, listen. I'm not. I hate to do this. Like literally, I hate doing this. Okay, but I've spent the last decade working in linguistics. This was my entire job. Okay, this is how you come to definitions. Okay, etymology is just how you got to the definition, but the
Yes.
definition is what people use the word to mean. That is what a definition is.
Okay, good. Can I say something?
Oh, wait, okay, everybody else has
y'all
talked
can do
for a
your
really
fucking
long
stuff
fucking time. The reason the etymology does not matter is because when we say a word, it is in reference to a concept or idea, okay? Every single time. So it doesn't matter if the sky used to be blue and we had a different meaning for green before and green used to refer to something else. We have a commonality for how it's, or like a normal way that we refer to something with that word today, and we don't need to get into the fucking history. We don't. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant for.
Okay, can I?
My problem
Hold
on,
with
let
the
Sick
application of certain terms, my problem with the application of certain terms like feminine and masculine is the idea that we're wrapping in essentialized qualities with those and imposing them on people. Okay?
Yes.
It doesn't mean that there's something offensive by saying that maybe being a little bit emotional in certain types of ways might be a feminine trait. It's to try and describe it or use that as a way to say that this is an experience that is unique to women and you're now engaging in it. That's
I
it.
need to ask
Hold
you
on.
something.
Wait, I need to
unique to
back
them,
up. I
but
need to
more
back up because
likely
I need to
from
get
them.
my dub. I need to get my dub on Tom real quick. Tom, you ever heard of two words like gaslighting or stonewalling?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Okay. I would say a lot of people use these words, but the majority of people that use these words, the majority, even though you think that they can't be wrong, they're wrong.
Yes,
Wrong
they
according
are.
to
What
what?
he's saying is there's the
But he doesn't
cultural
care.
definition
Hold on.
in the
He
dictionary,
doesn't care.
and then there's a
No, you're
cultural
not-
or colloquial
no,
definition that has taken its
There is a
meaning
colloquial
after people
definition,
adopt
but the
it.
colloquial
Yeah.
definition is meant to
I
be
get it.
used
It's
as the
technically
actual
incorrect.
Yes,
I
you're
get
saying
We were
that
so
according
close
to
to
an
getting out of
authority.
this.
Hold on,
Incorrect.
wait,
But
chill. You're saying that according to an authority, the thing is wrong. Okay, so we can have a scientific definition of something that is not the same as what normal people use a word to mean when they're having conversations. When we are here having conversations, we are using colloquial definitions to communicate to one another because we all understand what the words mean. We're not communicating 1,000 years ago. We don't need etymology to know what words meant 1,000 years ago.
I'm
We're
not
communicating
on
right
some
now,
etymology
and we're
type
not
shit. I'm not on some etymology
I
type
know.
shit.
I'm just throwing that. And we are not communicating based on some sort of like scientific definition, right? We're not like dissecting things and
I think you're
like
wrong. I
engaging
think you're
in
wrong on
science
that.
right
I
now.
think when
We
people
are
use
having
words
but
like
just let us
gaslighting
move
or
on.
stonewalling,
conversations.
they are explicitly trying to use these. They are explicitly trying to use the psychological definition. The issue is they will instead use it the wrong way, or they will overuse it. That's the thing. They are actually making reference to
Yes,
the
if-
scientific term or to
Yes.
the direct
Yes, they're
term,
appealing
but
to
they're
authority,
using it
but-
wrong, and the
Yes.
majority
He
of
doesn't
people
care.
use it wrong. So
Yes.
a majority
People are
of
dumb.
people can use a word wrong. That is
If
the
they are-
reality. The
if they
majority
are
of people
appealing
can
to a
use it.
definition
like
or
we're
an
trying to
authority,
describe
yes,
it.
they
This
can.
is what Tom is saying. When everybody is wrong, no one's wrong. That's what Tom is saying.
When
That's
everyone's super.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that's actually true. That's actually true.
Yeah,
It is
Okay?
true.
When we stopped using gay as a word to describe an emotion where a person is overly happy and we applied it to men who were in homosexual relationships, I'm sorry, the gay might have been used in a different way before, but guess what? You lost that war. We've moved on from you. Okay?
The word
So you can
cool
die
is
on your
another
own
definition.
hill.
It no longer means that
Yes,
because
the-
we still see the definition in the dictionary. So this is where
Right.
I would argue slightly against that some people are still using it, so it's not complete locution everywhere.
Right, which is why you have multiple definitions for things. It's because you'll have different usages based on different contexts. So if we're talking about stonewalling, if you're actually in some sort of academic setting, then yes, there is a right way to use it there. But if you're not in an academic setting, then you know what other people are communicating when they use the word, and that is what it means then.
Tom, can I ask you a question?
They're trying to reference the
Please, I swear to God, I will cry. I will do like a full feminine thing.
I have seen.
I will cry.
And we'll make fun of you.
White women tears.
And
I
we'll make
fucking beg of you.
and we'll make fun of you.
Okay, go ahead.
Like equal men.
Go ahead.
I want to move on from this so bad.
Equal opportunity. We'll make fun.
And Kura, I agree with you. It's not like I don't want to fight you on, like, with you on this, because I agree with you. But Tom, if how we recognize patterns is how we come to like knowing, if the way we know what masculine is by seeing men do it. Okay, you said most men are like, there are more men who are leaders, so leadership is a masculine trait, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And we agree that it's possible that there are more men who are leaders because of socialization.
Mm-hmm.
Then how the only way that will change without tackling socialization, which also includes language, like if you tell women that leadership is a masculine trait, they can either say, oh, I adopt masculine traits now, or they can reject it, right? And you'll just say that they should adopt it. But the point is, you won't change your definition of leadership as a masculine trait until you'll see, like, and I guess an equal amount of men and women being leaders. But that doesn't make a lot of sense.
It does. I can give you a bunch of examples where that's happened. Things like computers and computer engineering used to be considered a masculine thing. Just using a computer used to be considered a masculine thing. But today, women and men use computers at pretty similar rates, and so now it's just a non-gendered thing in general. Wearing pink was... like there's lots of things that have changed genders, even where like men wearing wigs and makeup and tights and heels used to be a masculine thing. Today it's a feminine thing. It changes based on how people are actually engaging with these things.
Yeah, but we'll never get to any solution if we don't separate the actions that most men do, all right, and most women do from the essential.
But those things stopped being, all of the things that I just listed, all stopped being masculine because men started doing them less and women started doing them more. That is what changed how we labeled it.
I would disagree on the computer's take. I would disagree on the computer take because it would probably be more relevant to what we were doing with computers 50 years ago versus what we're doing with them now.
But that's part of it, yes.
No. What I'm saying though is the tool, the usage of the tool expanded. The people interested in their activities didn't really change. I don't know how to express this.
I got you. It's
One
like
thing
when computers originally dropped, it was actually seen as a feminine thing because it was used for like secretary work. That's all it was. But then as soon as like programming came along and like it was like, okay, you can make money doing this, you can provide for your family. It was like, all right, well now this is some like masculine stuff. Hey yo, you can get sweaty on Fortnite or
I think
whatever,
it's computer
whatever the kids do
engineering that
nowadays.
was also more specifically masculine of actually like
Yes.
building
I said
circuitry to
computer
create
engineering,
the
yeah.
OSs and things like
the,
that.
The
that,
coding was women.
getting-
Math was women early on.
Fair enough.
They're the
Yeah, my
one-
mom
they're the
is
ones that-
actually works in that field and is again breaking that stereotype herself. But I would say gaming is an example where it was like traditionally masculine and to a point where like certain women see it as like a gross thing. They're like, sports are cool, but like video games are dumb just because they were told to not like this fucking thing.
Yes.
And now it's
But
like
the
you see on
point
Twitch, you get this humanizing feeling of like, oh dude, we both like Diablo. Like that's yeah. It's not that we're different, it's that we were put in front of different fucking toys or whatever it is at that time and kind of move
But
forward.
the point is, sorry.
I want to
Sorry,
comment on
interrupted.
something that you said there. No, I didn't want to interrupt and I gotta catch up
I
a
just
little
want to
bit.
point out the
Hold
only
on, wait,
reason.
wait, hold on. We gotta go back to Katie to let her finish her point now.
Okay.
Yeah, you go for it and then I'll catch up
Yeah.
in a sec.
I don't think, Tom, this is a genuine inquiry. I don't have the answer. But from what I understand, while there were certain behaviors that men did, men wearing like wigs or like makeup or like skirts it was never considered like a masculine trait. It was a thing that men did. But the fact of the matter is, when computers actually started, it was mostly women who were like pioneered that. But it wasn't considered a feminine thing. It became a masculine thing immediately, because that's the thing. It doesn't always, like, the definitions of like feminine and masculine don't always correlate to who's doing it more.
It's based on your association with it. Yeah.
Is football ontologically masculine?
It's like being, can I, one more sentence? It's like being a teacher used to be a masculine trait, and then women started doing it more, and you're right, and then it became like a feminine trait, because a lot of professions actually men ran out of, and women came in to fill in the blank. So once women join like a certain profession, men usually leave it because it's becoming like not masculine. That's part of the thing. So I just think that you are being a bit too reductionist in the way that you're saying, if there were more female leaders, then leadership wouldn't be a masculine trait anymore. Because when you say masculine and feminine traits, you are implying an inherentness to it, and not just like, oh, it's just about the majority of who's doing what.
The problem is that we disagree on the fact of the matter that women are doing more masculine things, because we have normalized women taking on masculine traits. Like, I don't know how we disagree on this, but somehow we disagree on that, and that is
Can I give an example?
That is proof from my entire
Can I give an
theory
example?
is that
what you're doing.
is that as we destigmatize things for women to do masculine things, they do them more, which means that we can destigmatize men doing feminine things, and they will do them more.
Okay, but what are these masculine and feminine
my
things?
God.
Because
Hold on. Can I please?
I know,
Because I've been interrupted enough. We're letting Katie finish her sentences. You know, being real stoic here.
That's true.
I was really
genuine. Woman respecters over here.
But you know,
Thank you.
other men, you know, what we're doing here, and Tom, what you're doing is you're pairing actions and titles and roles with male behaviors. And because male behaviors have been associated with roles so long, now the behaviors have become the roles. So people just incorrectly start to merge them together, and they don't remember to divorce them when women start to move into those positions. This is why math is it's like saying math is masculine.
Because we're saying that those things are still more likely for men.
It's masculine.
We're saying those things are still more likely for men, so we haven't divorced them because it is still more likely.
It's not about no. It's not about more likely, because the only reason why men will go into those roles because they see another man doing it, so they think, okay, so now they become. Because
you are describing why it is more likely right now. That's all you're doing. You're just describing why it is more likely.
Representation definitely increases the amount of people that feel encouraged to do it, because there seems to be some sort of human thing of like, oh, I see it happening. I feel like that is now a possibility. I can follow through. I personally, because of, I would say, unique circumstances and maybe being a rare case, don't map onto that, and have always just pursued things because of the interest in the thing. And I think whatever, it's like,
but the role is not the behavior. The role just facilitates the behavior. When we're talking about masculine and feminine,
what that means.
You know exactly what it means, Tom.
I literally have no idea what that means.
Rephrase it or say it one more time.
You are a rhetoric. You are you work. This was your job. You are a rhetorician or whatever. I'm mispronouncing it.
I don't understand what you mean. The role is based on the what it is we associate with. So.
Because it's like how Aaron was talking to me before, and how we can make people malleable, and we can put certain sounds, certain music, certain actions, and it will elicit certain emotions and behaviors. Now, when people see certain actions or see certain roles, they think I need to act or behave a certain way in order to fulfill that role, which is what is a social construct. It's what we create. Which is what you're correct on. But there is a delineation between the role and the behavior needed to perform the role, which is why we talk about women being more assertive.
Are you saying that it's not necessarily
the behavior is the behavior is the? I don't want you to interrupt
more sense. Well, you're not making sense to me. I want to ask you what you mean.
I'm about to make the example, Tom. Please.
Silencing black voices, Tom.
I'm glad he said it because it was
you're
in.
not making
it was
any
in
more
here.
sense to me. So I want to ask you: Is this what you mean?
We are better than that.
I just didn't want to do
just real
Tom
quick.
like that because he's the guy.
I don't understand you're not making more sense to me. So I'd like to ask you a question so I can clarify what it is that you mean, because it's not making any more sense the more you talk.
Okay, what's not making sense, Tom?
So are you saying that it's more about what we associate with men versus whether or not men do it more often? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's it's what we associate. Okay, it's what you said, and we are associating male behaviors and emotions that every human being can elicit, but men more than often elicit these emotions, behaviors, and they do it to fulfill certain roles and actions. But there is a difference between the behavior and the action. Okay, there's a difference between the emotion and the action. Okay, me being assertive in the workplace is different from me being a manager in a workplace. I need to be assertive in order to be a proper manager. Okay,
Yeah,
I need to
being a manager
placate
means
in order to make
authority.
people safe. But I'm not manager. I'm assertive. Okay, does that make sense, Tom?
Are you saying that we're more likely to make a man a manager just because we associate assertiveness with men, even though he may not be more likely to be assertive? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's what you're saying. But
yeah,
you're taking what I'm saying and you're creating a thought, a thought. What's it called? A diatribe of what I'm saying, and you're going further down. I can say that, but that's not what I'm saying in the moment. What I'm saying is,
well, when you say the behavior is
manager,
not the
I'm gonna say it again. Manager is not
behavior
emotion.
is not action.
Is manager an emotion, Tom?
No.
Is leadership an emotion?
No.
Okay. So are there emotions
set of
that
behaviors make you more qualified for the role of leadership because you need to be able to manage people in whatever way, both compassionately and assertively, to get the fucking job done, which happens to map on more likely to men in general, both because of our strength that put us in the position of leader to then be culturally molded to that point, and potentially if testosterone is motivating, a little bit of our just hard ass fucking I don't give a shit about your feelings.
No, because that's
a
combination of
we're only perception is changing.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm sorry. So when I was a kid, I grew up around a massive organization that had mostly women running all of the business, the travel, all sorts of stuff. And they used to have shirts that said, "If you want to know what's going on, ask a man. But if you really want to know who's in charge, ask the women." And that was the attitude in the early 80s. Things had come around at that time period to that. Now, in my business, that went away by the mid 90s. Why? Because men essentially moved into that business kind of naturally through some, things happen. Basically, women moved out of that business, not because of the examples not being there, but rather that men took over naturally and women moved into other jobs. Now, originally, women were told they couldn't do some of the jobs that I do, like sound, lighting, that kind of thing, hanging from the girders and doing those jobs. Yeah,
and it's not.
And yeah, exactly. But the example was not there for them. And once the example came back, lo and behold, they're back in the business. Now they're at front of house. Now they're mixing lighting. They're doing all kinds of things like, doing rigging. And it is the example. And none of these jobs are male or female. In fact, women are better at heights.
And let me interrupt you real quickly. A lot of the time, the women, because of those jobs having labor, I work in the same fucking industry, unloading the back of that truck to get all those cases out. Sometimes the biological factor does play in where the woman is going to go get that extra certification, be a bit more assertive in that organized way to actually get paid more to boss all of us grunts around and be in that. And then, of course, there's that like couple of them that are also right next to us and doing the same fucking job. So I
am
if I can pull it back, I want to pull it back real quick too.
Wait, can I say something? I haven't talked in a really long time. I haven't talked in a really long time.
I'm so lost.
If possible,
I think,
and then I need to pull it back to where Tom and Katie said something before we took a left.
Like Red Pill King, whatever, in chat point out a good example, right, of like cooking, right? Like cooking is a very female trait, but then it's like when you go into a professional setting, what do you see? You see all head
chefs are men.
Chefs, and most of the kitchen staff are men. So it's kind of like a mixture. Okay, this is a feminine trait, but also it's masculine. Like you wouldn't say the men who are head chefs in like kitchens are like feminine. You'd be like, yeah, he's like a bad masculine
boss.
man.
This
Yes,
Yeah.
He's in a
some things-
professional
wait,
setting.
Wait.
He's a
Yes,
professional.
yes.
might
Some
say
things are context dependent, of course. So like that's just changing
Oh
the
my God,
context. Yes.
And the kitchen at work is like a super hot, fucked up room where they're on the go sweating their balls out. It's not like for the family cooked with love. It's like very much mechanically done for this thing as a career. I want to kind of bring that point back to what Katie and Tom were saying a second ago, that there are culturally masculine things that are because of the stereotypes or whatever engineering that's been put in place. So leadership is a culturally masculine thing, and as we've been joking in chat, things are not inherently masculine. Me having a dick does not make me a fucking leader. I've run a band. I'm not necessarily good at doing that just because I fucking have this fucking way too much testosterone. I have to learn the skill of leadership and how to work with human beings and align our goals and all this sort of shit. And it's like, again, my mom works in IT. She's a fucking boss. She's a manager. These are things that if you kick ass at life and if your brain is geared towards it, you can do this thing. And luckily our culture now, or society, allows for that to some degree. At least more so than it did 50 fucking years ago. I'm like refugee family from Iran who made it to Canada, and my mom's the breadwinner in a man's position. It's like breaking all the stereotypes because that opportunity does exist, right? I'm not saying that's the norm. I'm saying that culturally we're living in the table has been set as these being feminine things where like you're taking care of the kids, you're cooking, you're nurturing, you're loving, you're emotionally, whether it's more intelligent or just like that's what you talk about more. Who fucking knows?
So real quick, let me real quick. Okay, so Katie's point is that like there is this circular motion of like we categorize something as masculine, which makes it to where men are more likely to do it, and now men are more likely to do it, so we categorize it as masculine, and because we categorize it as masculine, men are more likely to do it. And
No, you do that. You do that. I'm saying that you do that.
You were describing that to be the
hold on, but you agree that that is culturally how we define these things, and you're saying that if we define these things this way, that there is going to be this circular motion of how it is constantly cause and effect at the same time.
No, Tom, because
us.
again,
I literally, Azzy, I'm not ignoring you. I literally don't understand a word you're saying, Azzy. So
oh my God, let Katie talk.
I don't understand a freaking thing you're saying. You are talking a different language.
Her equal left, equal rights. Okay,
let Katie respond, guys.
No, let her get interrupted. Okay, equal left.
I am strong and powerful and assertive, and I will speak. This is my masculine time.
And you can get interrupted like a man too.
It's
every step of the way, we have disagreed with you and said, yes, this is how it plays out in reality. But the way in order for us to move forward, we need to no longer do that. That's what we've been saying. Okay? Yeah. Do you agree? Do you agree with us saying that, Tom? And we've been saying that.
Wait, I wasn't listening. Saying what?
Yeah. Try it again, Azzy. Try it again.
I don't know. At this point, as he starts talking and I just tune out, I don't understand a freaking word the guy's saying. He's an alien to me right now. He is from another planet. I am not even sure.
It's so weird because usually I don't get Azzy. And now I get him.
Tom tuned out his experience in the black neighborhood so he could survive and cope. So that's he just stopped listening to black people all of a sudden to make it through to get it to adulthood. I understand, Tom.
I had to fix myself into whiteness.
In the hood. He you know, it's just like the peripherals on people in the hood. They just like it dims a little bit. They just stop. They stop.
What were you saying?
Tuned out the voices. Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
All right. What did you say, Azzy?
Every step of the way, we have agreed with you. Okay, and we've conceded that in reality, we have facilitated and taken words and created new definitions of them colloquially. And because and in addition, things like football and words like football and leadership have become masculine. So if anybody does them, they're masculine. We're saying in order to move forward so that men can be more emotionally vulnerable, which is what I'm trying to bring us to, right? We need to no longer do that, where we take words and actions and make them ontologically a masculine and feminine.
Yes, this is literally what I just said with the circle thing.
No,
this is the is versus ought. We are saying, we are saying what? Yes. Hold on. No, we're talking about what the word means versus what it ought to mean. Right? This is what. Hold on. Katie, I got to mute you for a second. I'm sorry. Azzy, you are saying that it is what it does mean versus what it ought to mean, right?
If he wants to remove the categories from them to free people.
Remove. I want to. I want to
right?
separate behaviors and emotions from actions and roles. So I want to remove the way we have a habit of ontologically describing actions as masculine and feminine.
To me, you're saying the same thing both times. Actions and actions are behaviors. Like those are the same thing. So I don't when you keep saying things, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know what you're saying when you say this. You're differentiating actions from behaviors somehow, and I don't know what that means.
Can I finish?
No, there was something.
No, hold on. No, Tom, because you agreed when I asked you, hey, is leadership an emotion? So is leadership an emotion, Tom?
He did not agree with that.
Okay, so you in that statement, you have made a separation, a delineation, a distinction between action that men typically do and the emotions men have while doing the action.
What does that have to do with action versus behavior, though?
Okay, so when we're talking about masculine actions and masculine behaviors and emotions, there is a difference.
Action is a behavior.
You're being so pedantic right now. You know he's just
trying to understand what he's saying. I don't understand what he's saying, and I'm trying to understand it.
Can I clarify one thing real quick?
Is leadership an emotion?
No, we're not talking about emotions. We're talking about behaviors and actions. Why do you keep asking me about emotions? That's totally irrelevant to action and behavior.
Tom, was not the essential argument about allowing men to be more emotionally invulnerable and crying during their favorite anime scene and not being judged for it?
Yes. What is that?
Okay.
Action, separate action and behavior. I got to keep saying this. Separate action and behavior. Is an action a behavior?
Is action a behavior?
Yes.
You can act leading is a behavior. Leadership is different. Do you know the difference between leading and leadership?
No.
All right, so then that's your fault. That's your bad.
Can I just finish my point? I swear to God, I don't want to do this.
Leading is leadership.
Please.
With good or bad quality to it. Hold on, can I clarify one thing real
beg
quick?
of you.
Azzy, are you trying to divorce all of the concepts of whether it's actions, behaviors, emotions, job titles, all the things? I think what you're trying to say is remove all of them from being boxed in as man's things to do, masculine things to do. Remove all of this crying, hanging out, taking pictures, things that like chicks typically do more socially. Remove all these from being a feminine category so that we're not boxing in the next generation or current generation into trying to fulfill a set of stereotypes that doesn't necessarily have to, be their lane. Is that kind of what you're trying to say?
That's one way to think about it. The more correct, succinct way to say it is separate actions and behaviors that are connected from emotions and behaviors that all humans can elicit.
I want to finish my point now.
Go ahead, sweetie. All right. Oh, hold on. Real quick.
Oh, don't do that.
Thank you, honey.
Jesus.
Okay, so
no, me and Katie, we got this. You know what I mean? Like we got an invisible ring. Promise rings. Come on. Go ahead.
Yes, totally. Thank you, baby. Okay, anyway, so Tom, I don't know what Azzy said. Okay, I thought I disagreed with him. My point is this. Okay.
I don't think the chat knows what he's saying either, so I think we're all on the same page here.
They play Pokemon Go. All right.
Oh, please. Oh, my God. I don't care. I don't know why you guys are, like, so enjoying the jerking off of the semantics thing. Like, I thought I was pedantic. Oh, my fucking God. This is ridiculous.
True.
If we don't understand what we're saying, we have to get pedantic to understand each other.
It was just a catty, bitchy, feminine thing to express aggression, okay? Don't take it so seriously. Let's just move on. Femininity, okay? Anyway, my point is this, Tom. I don't agree that the way society catalogs things is just by seeing what action is performed by men or women and then to call it masculine or feminine respectively. I think that culturally, because of many, many reasons that I'm going to call you Tube, said.
It's Jube. That's my actual name, Jube. JubeTube, but Jube is my actual
cool.
real life. It's not like an
So-
offensive thing. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to fuck
No,
people with
good.
that. Sorry.
So that Jube said, and other reasons that society has, like, how do you say, like a
say what I
fallacy in the way that they're thinking. They are cataloging things wrong. And I understand that you're saying it doesn't matter that they're cataloging it wrong. That's how we're using it. But the thing is,
I agreed with this earlier. Just real quick. I agreed with this earlier that I said it's not necessarily that they do these things more. It's that people associate what they're these things with men,
Good.
and that's what makes them call it masculine.
Good. So if we can also agree that sometimes the associate that, then I would argue that the way to move forward is, and this is again, it's a semantics argument of whether like completely getting rid of the concept of feminine and masculine, because humans make fallacies when they attribute those qualities to people. They make wrong assumptions, or we tell people lean into the feminine, lean into the masculine. Personally, telling people to lean into the masculine when that's not even a thing that is like performed by most men or something like that is silly. And I think at the core of it, it just comes down to you having a more an essentialist lens on it. So that's
It's
why
not
you feel
It's not essential.
it's not essentialist.
that's
It's not essential.
I think I kind of figured out roughly.
so you
It's
just
malleable
feel
based on the time.
I've said over and over, it's just based on the association. That's it.
okay.
That's
I will
all
finish
it
my
is.
sentence. Okay,
That's what
you're
you
not
think.
essentialist at all. That's fine.
There
That's
are
great.
parts that are
The
essential,
point-
yes.
The point is, the only thing we can really influence is socialization. The way we use language absolutely affects socializations. And when we use fallacies in our language to enforce negative things, that reinforces socialization. So, if we want men to express themselves more emotionally, for example, we should not call them pussies when they do it. You know, because language reinforces behaviors.
So
It's not
this
wrong.
is okay. But real quick, this
I'm
is
still
the
gonna call you
ring
soft,
that I was
Brian.
talking about earlier. While you were like sitting there, like you disagreed with it the entire time. That you are repeating exactly what I said with the ring, where I said this is what Katie's saying, where she's saying because we categorize it this way, it makes it more likely to where people do it. And because we make it more likely to where people do it, it's going to be categorized this way. And you are
Yes,
just
and I'm
reinforcing
frustrated with
it.
you. Yes.
Wait, one additional
but
thing
you
though.
acted like you disagreed with that earlier, and that is your point. Like I am
Okay,
trying
you
to
said
steel man your
exactly
point so
Yes,
that you
that
agree
you
with
are
me.
doing that. Yes.
Yes, that not that I'm doing that. That you are saying that that is the problem with the way that we use the language.
Well, yeah, except that none of us on this panel, you're the only one
I
doing
am not
that.
doing
That's what I'm saying.
anything. I am not doing anything. Okay, listen.
Tom, when you
no,
say,
shut up. I am not
oh
doing
my
anything.
God.
I am making a descriptive claim. I have said this
Oh,
1,000
no.
times. You guys keep going into the prescriptive. I am
Tom?
just describing the way that we use language. I am not saying
Tom?
we ought to use
Call his
language
name.
this way. I am saying that this is how we use language. That's it. You are saying that I'm doing this, but I'm not prescribing
When
anything.
you
are
say-
prescribing
I
something.
need to tell you
when you
something.
say leadership is a masculine trait, and then you ask me if I think it's actually a masculine trait, you could have said, I don't think it's a masculine trait, but we see men perform it.
Wait,
That's not
no.
what you said, though.
No, that doesn't matter because that's still going to be descriptive. When we're talking about descriptive versus prescriptive, the word is going to mean something based on
You're
descriptive.
describing how people use the word,
Yes.
not what the word is.
Smart words
No.
we use.
So,
Wait, that
like,
is the
there's an
same thing.
issue. The
That is the
issue
same
with
thing.
the issue.
That is the same
issue-
freaking thing,
the
Katie.
issue-
You
no.
cannot
I'm-
you cannot separate
gonna
those
stop
two
talking.
things.
It is
The word
actually
means
very simple.
what it is that people use it to mean.
It
That
is
is
very
what it
simple.
is.
Yeah. It
We
is very
just
simple to
agreed
fix
that
this
people
way.
have fallacies, so you agree
No.
that they are not using it correctly.
No, I
Okay,
did not.
The issue is that you think people can't use words wrong. You think that there's no way for people to use words wrong, like en masse, like as long
No,
as a majority
that
of
is
people
not
use
true.
a
No,
word
it's
a
just that
certain
this
way.
is
That is
wrong
what you
usage.
said. As the majority of people use a word a way that they cannot be incorrect. That
else-
is literally verbatim what
That
you
is
said.
yes,
Don't
that
sit
is
here
how
and tell me-
language works. Yes.
Yeah, and And then I brought up like the gaslighting or stonewalling example, in which a majority of people use the word wrong, and then you switch to some. Well, everybody has their own personal definition.
No, I
type
did
shit.
not. No, I did
That's
not.
not exactly
No,
what you
no,
said.
did
I know
not.
that's not
I
exactly
said
what you said.
It's
You said
based on
that instead
context.
there's like
Words mean different things. That's why dictionaries give different definitions, because in different contexts, words can mean different things.
Which is the same. And everyone can have their own personal context in their brain, which means everyone can have their own definition.
No,
At the end
no,
of the day,
no,
that's
no,
what you're.
no.
That's
Not
where
the-
that goes.
No.
Not
Everybody's-
everyone. You can't. It has to be like 90% of people understand when you communicate what you're saying, and then it gets added as like alternate
No, but
definition. So
with-
there's the technical, like scientific
stonewalling-
technical definition, and then there's basically Urban Dictionary or colloquial or cultural usage.
With stonewalling and gaslighting, there's a specific appeal to academia. That's why it's been used. It is incorrect and a bit like disingenuous to say that people just came up with this word. It was inserted
No,
into
they didn't just
colloquial
come up with it.
discussion
Wait,
to
wait,
therapize
adopted
on
it.
purpose.
No,
and just
I don't
start
think that.
using
I
it
don't think that's
casually.
correct. I'm pretty sure that's pop psychology. I don't even think that's real psychology. Like
Pop
stonewalling and
psychology
gaslighting
is
are pop psychology.
literally, Tom, pop psychology is when people who don't have a psychology degree use authority of real psychology and enter it into pop culture. Pop
Right.
psychology. I'm not
Which
saying
means
pop
it's going to
psychology
have
is
like a
real.
different definition. Yes.
No,
Yeah.
it just means that they're using the
Oh my
definition. wrong.
god.
Okay,
Yo, if I could
again,
reel it
you
back real
can't
quick.
use the definition
Word
wrong if
I mean,
everybody's
you're
using the
word
word
wrong.
that way.
You're
You
using
can't
the
use
word
it
wrong.
wrong.
Orange is the
You
new black,
can't.
guys.
I mean,
Orange is the new black.
Yo, I need to reel us back to the
You're
prior
right.
point
The majority
and
of
see
people
if we
can
can
use the
take a
word wrong.
different
They would
left.
just- We
Okay.
believe a majority of
Just-
people can use the word wrong. And you
Okay,
don't
just
think
real
they
quick. Okay, so when you say that, you're appealing to some sort of authority. The issue is that if you actually appeal to an authority on linguistics, you would understand that all authorities say what you're saying makes absolutely no sense. That all
Okay, and
authorities
that's
would
why
say
we don't-
that
They
words
are
mean
appealing
what
to
it is.
authority,
Authorities
Tom.
are fucking stupid. In reality, these words come from different places. They come from different communities, and they don't come from linguistics. Linguistics don't make up words.
No, they don't.
Other communities make
exactly.
words, and then linguistics try to organize them.
Yes,
So in reality,
no. Kind of,
yes,
but-
yes. No, I'm correct. Yes, I'm correct.
Kind
No, I'm
of,
totally
kind
correct.
of,
I'm
but-
entirely correct.
That's
I know.
kind of
Linguistics
correct.
don't make
Not
up
really.
words.
But
They don't make
you
up
gotta
words.
bite a bullet
We make
somewhere.
words,
Tom.
and then they
Come
try to
on.
organize them, but they can be wrong.
I'm not
you
gonna
gotta
bite
bite a
bullets when
bullet
other
somewhere.
people are wrong. I've
It's
explained.
bizarre.
Hold on. Hold on. No, hold on. So the difference is that yes, people use words away, and linguistics figures out how they're using it to say what the definition is. That is what linguistics
they can
does. That's what pragmatics
They
is.
can be wrong.
No, they can't. They can be wrong on how people use the word. Sure, they can be wrong saying most people use a word this way, and then they just are incorrect on how most people use it. Yeah, sure. But normally, if most people do use a word this way, then that is what the word means. Like that is just how words gain meaning. So like when people start saying,
this is
Hold
just
No,
what
that's how
they mean
words
in this
lose meaning.
context.
That's how they
No,
lose
stop,
meaning.
stop,
yes,
stop. That's what the
yes.
word means in that particular context. But if
Yes.
another group of people just use the word in another context in a repetitive way, then that word also
I
the
already
same
said
word
that's why
can
we have
gain
different
all-
definitions.
That
I'm
means-
visiting my brain.
That means the
Where's
word
the
can have
bubbles, girl?
two different
Azzy.
definitions at the same time in
Azzy,
different contexts.
I've already said this. This is why we have
Okay,
multiple
so why are we
definitions. It's for
arguing this?
multiple-
Why are we
because
arguing this?
that's
Okay,
not what
wait.
he's saying. That is not what Kuro's saying. Kuro is saying that it's not based on how other people use it, that there is a right and wrong definition, as though there is an inherent meaning to a word, and that people can't change what the word means. So when everybody says, hey, that's cool, he would say, well, no, that's wrong, because cool means that it's cold. When somebody say it's cool to say I like it, that's the incorrect way of using the word.
Tom, you've been doing that this
Not
entire
inherent,
panel.
there is
No, I
an
have
authority.
not.
And you've done it.
No, no, no,
You have
no,
literally
Tom,
said-
listen.
You said look up a dictionary. What does a dictionary matter if I can just say a word means something different and I use it with my friends a different way? You also appeal to authorities. The thing
don't-
is, yeah, like.
Yes,
Yes,
I
no,
am
yes,
saying
you-
I
you have
appeal
done
to
that.
authorities. That is what I'm saying.
Okay,
I am
so,
saying
like-
I
Wait.
appeal
Yeah,
to
so-
authorities. I'm saying you're not
like,
appealing to authorities.
You literally said I'm appealing to authorities.
No, I said that if
I
hold
will
on,
leader
wait,
my
hold on.
way.
Stop. when I said that when you use a specific definition and say this is the only definition, that you are appealing to a specific authority in a specific context. I'm saying in different contexts, with those words can mean different things based on colloquial usage. That's what I was
And
saying.
I'm saying that there are situations in which people are referencing those same authorities that I'm referencing, and they're just not using the word correctly. And
I
it's a
agree.
majority of
I
people.
agree that there are ways that
it's
we can do that.
that's
So
fine
hold
and
on,
dandy.
wait, hold on, everybody stop.
We all
Stop.
agree the
Word the wrong
fallacy
way.
exists, though.
Okay,
now,
hold on.
right?
No, we're not talking about fallacies right now.
way.
So, okay, so I'm saying that yes, like if we are in a specific context, a word can be used incorrectly. So, like if we're talking about people who study like fossils and they have scientific definitions.
No, not
and
in
they,
a specific context.
Yes,
I'm saying that if you are referencing the same authority that I am referencing, if you are using the word gaslighting in the same psychological context in which most people are using it in, if you are using it in this way, then I would say you are using it wrong most of the time, and a majority of people are using it wrong. They are referencing the same thing that I am referencing. They are just wrong.
Yes, I am saying people can use words wrong. I'm saying, but not if most people are using it that way. They cannot be using it wrong. That is what I'm saying.
Can we get...
So now you're
Once
wrong.
the large majority of the population
Yeah,
adopts
I
it,
mean-
it becomes the new. Like when people said you can't be racist to white people, it's like
frustrated.
that's
It's a battle-
technically
yeah.
just retarded. But it became this thing that people just were like, yeah, that's the new meaning. That's 2020, whatever the fuck. Like, come on. And then you realize you can't go apply that same logic in any other country and just go be racist to Chinese people in China and then not get your ass beat. It's like, no, it's because it's a retarded new definition. And you're right to think they were wrong. And I would say those people were wrong. And the new definition does not stick. But there is some subculture of people that are like hyper leftists or whatever who believe this is the new way to look at the language or the new definition of it. And so I agree that they're just a lot of people that are doing something wrong. Like the Nazis were like a ton of people who are just in the wrong, even though everyone was adopting, or like whatever the fuck, a ton of people were adopting this shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I agree with you. Forgive me. I want to pull back and I'm not trying to dismiss this like in any way, respectfully. I think we're getting lost on this one example or in the semantic of this, when really what we're talking about is if categorizing leadership as masculine is incorrect usage of the word and then perpetuating some sort of fucked up like cultural loop of putting men into one box and women into another one. And I wanted to say that like a lot of the things like emotion, crying is a human behavior that I don't give a fuck if it's like happens more with women or men. It's a human thing. Emotions are a human thing that are expressed one way generally by men, one way generally by women, and there's a ton of overlap. And when you say be more masculine, or to a guy you need to unlock or be more feminine, it's not we should destigmatize the idea of as a man having more femininity and just say, hey, if you're more conscientious and more open-minded, you're a more well-rounded brain. If you're more fucking like a dude and like a chick to some degree while you maintain whatever the fuck alignment with your body and mind, you're a more well-rounded person and you're able to be there both emotionally and in whatever fucking other like a shoulder for people to cry on. Although women can obviously also do that. The point is that like you would say a female-led company is going to have a different structure of leadership than a male-led company generally, whether that's informed by their biology or culture. I don't give a fuck. But thus leadership is not inherently masculine. It's culturally, again, because of power that had been in place in history and all that, whether you're in the Middle East where you're like you don't have shit for freedom, or you're here where like women are generally free, but they haven't been president yet. So like it's still not the point where we're looking at like 50 years of half and half having female leaders in a place where we stereotype them as like the leader of the free world was a female. We had like one shot with Hillary, or you guys had one shot with Hillary recently. And not to say you should have been. I'm just saying it's not a common thing for the most stereotypical apex of leadership to be seen as a female figure. So it's like culturally in a box and not inherently. And I think that moving forward, we should allow me with long hair, like getting called a girl 20 years ago, Katie with short hair, she should be able to do that. I should be able to do this and not be like a fucking pussy. And I should be able to have
no. Hold on. Because there's a difference. And this is where I agree with Tom. But this is where I agree with Tom, where like there are certain behaviors socially that we are always going to say is masculine or feminine. We're always going to categorize it by the way most men or most people realize themselves. Okay.
Oh wait.
Why?
It's different. So there's
social construct on
Like
that.
what?
Man. I think we're limiting
Yeah,
ourselves
Azzy,
to
can I-
these
wait,
things
can I-
and
can I
not
throw in-
allowing for the fact that we're believing in something that we're basically fulfilling for ourselves. We're not actually even breaking out of the boundary of a current modality, basically in thought. We're basically constructing the thought and saying, oh, that's how it is. Meanwhile, that's just not how it is. And we know that. We even know that on the panel. That's what I was talking about, fallacy. We're giving way to the fallacies of the dialectic instead of
But it's not a
challenging them.
fallacy. If no, it's not a fallacy in a certain way of thinking about it. Because if most people are willing to go along with it, there's most people want this to be realized, then that is the way it is. It is right. Because most people want it to be right. Most people aren't willing to. Most men will say that long hair on a man is a feminine thing. Yes, in a democratic sense.
No,
okay.
they wouldn't.
I don't know if I agree with all of that.
Long hair
Most
feminine?
men would say long
Ozzy, how
long
can
hair.
Because of culture, though, right?
Maybe
How
it's
can you say-
Maybelline.
Because of culture, right? Like that's not
Yeah,
You
like
just
hair.
absolutely
fought Tom
culture.
for 2 hours. How can you say this? You're
Maybelline,
making the same argument Tom is
Maybelline,
making.
because I just said that this is where I agree with Tom. Okay.
Yeah.
What is
No,
that? What is
no,
what is that
I'm only
specific
doing-
female trait that will always be a female trait?
Maybelline
Specifically,
does not sell shampoo to men unless I don't know about their male shampoo.
I mean, they just
So?
sell shampoo, bro. Like, you can just-
Okay.
What's a specific female trait that
No.
will always be a female trait? You just said that, like, generally. Give me specifics.
Long hair.
When you said you just,
that is not always going to be, and it hasn't always
It
even
hasn't
been.
always. Yeah.
That's not
Okay,
a trait, though,
so-
right? Like if all humans just like
Period.
stopped
We're
cutting their
never-
hair, everyone would have long hair.
the
There is no
hourglass
trait.
the hourglass figure. Okay.
Absolutely. Our
No,
biological bodies
Well, that's
generally
that's
being,
genetic.
you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the clothes and hair that effectively make it more powerful. The hourglass figure, the dresses, the skirts, the makeup, the high heels, everything that
Yep.
go along with
I don't even
no.
think that's true because isn't there like a what is I sorry I know so little about
This
the
is
rest
why
of the world
I'm
because I
pretty
live
sure-
in America
yes.
and we're the most important. But
Isn't
like,
there a
there
whole
such a
artist?
thing
What's
as,
her
like,
name? Who was making a song? What's her name? She was like, I remember her name. She purposely wore big sweatshirts and big clothing.
William Eyelash?
Yeah, Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish, yeah, because she didn't want to be feel
to hide
sexualized by.
her figure, so she's not sexualized. So she is hiding her feminine,
Yeah.
her feminine figure. Okay, so she
So?
doesn't get sexualized. Okay, so we will always see certain things. That is one.
No,
I need to
wait,
draw-
because
can I
in the
comment on that
Middle
super
East,
fast?
isn't it
That is
common
one
for-
thing that we will always see
That's
as
not a
fem-
clothing
Can I-
thing.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you
can I-
will
in the
see a
Middle East, isn't it
generally
more common for
traditional
women to
female
cover up
body
because
that
it's
way.
it's more attractive for women to be it's more feminine for women to be modest. Like this is not inherent to this is not inherent. These are just
Yeah, if I can-
cultural things.
Yeah, if I can clarify, I actually said this in chat earlier. There's a feminine behavior and there's feminine features, which are like because of your biology, you're gonna have all of these other downstream. Like you're not gonna have my facial structure as a chick. It's just you're not gonna have this body hair. Like you're gonna have tits instead. You're gonna have a
And you
fucking
can
blah 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 blah.
construct it.
That hourglass and all that. It's like those things aren't expected to change. Although we're entering in the medicine realm and technology of actually altering that after birth. But
Okay.
yeah, so like that's malleable, although that's a whole other conversation. I'm not trying to go into like
No.
whatever the fuck. But
That's the
unless
crux
you're
of the
trying to go
argument,
there, but I'm just trying to say that yeah, you understand.
which is why I'm saying now you have to make a further delineation between certain behaviors or certain things that we will always see as masculine, feminine, like the feminine figure versus the emotions that everybody can have.
Yes,
But Ozzy, you're conflating the feminine figure with feminine clothing. You're doing that.
Do women wear certain things and do men wear certain things that what can I say the word? I have the word on my head. Essential is it accentuate that accentuate
Okay.
accentuate their figures, right? So that it's seen as more masculine to attract.
Yeah,
That is
everyone's trying to
super
optimize
culturally
their
dependent.
looks to try
Okay,
and
so
No,
then
not
we-
always.
we
Because
say
wasn't there a
that-
thing like in what was it like the 70s
Generally.
or 60s when like women had those big like shoulder pads when they had like big
80s.
shoulder
That'd be
pad
mid
dresses.
80s.
Oh yeah, the 80s shoulder pad dresses and shoulder pad suits. These are things are super culturally dependent. It just depends on what people.
Yes, corsets or the
those
thing
are
with
all-
like packing big skirts. Like we talked about this an hour ago. Tom brought up that like what 100, 200 years ago, men were wearing makeup and high heels and skirts. Like, what are we talking about? This is silly.
Bro, even in the 70s, Zeppelin was like taking on the feminine aesthetic and then injecting the masculine energy and having this other kind of sexuality that women fawn over. Michael Jackson, they're fucking fainting at his concerts and he's, half looking like a female.
Now we
whatever
need
it is.
to- what-
Britney
I'm
Spears,
trying to-
respect.
Purple Rain. Yeah.
Okay,
David
I'm
Bowie,
confu-
or all this sort of thing.
You're
If we're
confused.
talking about the
confused
emotional
because
value, because that's
do
what
we
I
not-
was talking about.
do we not all agree that like we shouldn't be putting people in boxes and that we should let men do feminine things?
I'll
or
put you in a
but-
box.
Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't
We
help
were.
it.
Well, no,
Ozzy wants to do that for something.
Hey,
Hold on.
I'm
hold
a
on.
cat.
Wait,
Hey, no,
wait,
hold on,
Sass,
hold on, hold on.
no,
I'm a
Sass, let
cat,
me ask
so
you
if
a
it
clarifying
fits,
question
I
real quick.
said-
Sassafras, let me
Why
ask
did
you a
you make a
clarifying
joke?
question.
You ruined it.
I'm sorry, but okay, so when you say put people in boxes, are you saying we shouldn't categorize what they're doing, or are you saying we shouldn't push them to do that?
Well, I can understand. It's hard because I understand how it's like you can't like snap your fingers and then get rid of the boxes completely. But I feel like I've heard over this how many hours this has been going on is that people are like, yeah, we shouldn't like confine people to one box and like make fun of someone if they go out of it because it really is like all of us
Yeah,
we're a
so you're talking
combination
about
of
the
masculine and
prescriptive.
feminine. So that's why I'm like confused. Why like what's the huge disagreements? What are the prescriptions?
Okay,
Like,
so this is
that's what
okay. So
drives me
this is
nuts.
where I keep coming back to is that I am making descriptive statements when I'm talking about like masculinity and femininity and all of these other things. Whereas other people are saying, well, that's not the way it should be, so you're wrong. Whereas like I'm not wrong on the descriptive, but if we get to the
know.
prescriptive,
No.
this is literally what me and Katie were talking
No.
about just a minute ago. Yes,
Yeah,
this is what we were saying. This is what we were saying.
You
Yeah,
keep
this is what I'm trying to
backtracking
say,
on the
that, yeah,
thing.
Tom, I
No.
agree with you. There's certain things that we are always going to categorize, and we're always going to do that.
I'm not
It's
even
patterns
saying
of
that.
behavior are always going to be categorized.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
saying that we will
Yes.
always
Not.
categorize things,
Yeah,
but I'm
always.
not saying that it
Yeah.
has to mean this thing or we have to categorize it in this way. And so,
Okay, what
so-
we're saying
so-
is that most people don't have the ability to see the difference between those two actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we're trying to what I'm trying to say, right? And this is why we need to be careful about we shouldn't be putting people in a box and now making fun of them when they step out. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like nah, like sometimes.
Was that your impression of me? Seriously?
No, it
Yes,
wasn't.
it was.
No, it wasn't an impression of you.
You need to like I
It
have a
wasn't
way
an
better
impression of
voice
you.
than that, buddy.
It wasn't
You
an
gotta
impression
make
of
it
you.
better.
It wasn't. I'm very clogged. I'm nasal right now. All right. I'm not in my best form. So like I'm never gonna be able to
Mhm.
articulate
Okay.
you
That's
in
how I
the most
sound when I'm
beautiful
nasal too.
and essential way. You know what I mean? Like it's hard. It's humid. It's hard. I can't.
I feel
I'm
you, bro.
gonna
I'm
tell you
toasting
what
here.
it is, Sass.
Hold on.
I can tell you exactly
What
what it
I'm
is.
try- what I've been
Please
Andy
tell me.
is religious.
What I've been trying
Andy
to
is
say.
religious.
finish.
So
Oh,
he has some
no.
ideas.
He's putting me
Yes.
about. Wow.
No.
You.
So
hold on one
he's
second.
religious.
Sassafras, hold on.
Which
Sassafras,
means,
you're in
Tom,
charge.
what the fuck?
Hold on. I got to go to the restroom. Sassafras, you're hosting for a minute. I'll be right back.
Now,
Sweet.
put the beautiful
Katie,
black
go ahead.
man here in charge.
Break out the band.
I'll
hammer.
meet you all.
Can I explain? Can I
So-
explain? Or I?
No.
No,
Go
don't.
ahead.
No,
My bad,
because
go ahead.
as a religious person, what am I gonna say, Katie? What am I gonna say?
Okay.
Huh?
I'm
How
gonna say that you have been being with us every single moment, and now you're going to, after we finally pin Tom down, although he's still fighting, but we'll keep him pinned. Is that like
Likes it.
now you're gonna turn around, probably not to accuse you immediately, but probably because you have some religious values that you do think some things are reserved to men and women and masculine and feminine. And that's what you're going to make that separation on. So basically, your own arbitrary values, even though you just spent the last 2 hours arguing with us that those arbitrary values are pretty weird and misguided.
Okay,
Um,
wait. This is why.
Thank you, Katie, for showing me your lack of knowledge on
This is why I wanted to.
because there's no Jew or Greek, there's no slave nor free, there's no male or female. Okay, for all are one in Christ Jesus. Okay, if you know that, then you can say that what that means is there's an essential identity that everybody has, and we're not getting into the specifics of the male or female. There's just instances in scripture where it tells you what women, what the ideal woman does and what the ideal man does. And there's a lot of times where it tells people to do certain things because they're terrible at doing it. So when they tell men to love their wives, it's because most men will have a problem loving their wives correctly. So it's not because I'm religious that I'm now kind of flip-flopping on this. It's like, no, I understand where I'm placating and I'm meeting Tom where he is. So now you can bring him forward to say, now we can make the delineation between, it's not about hair and actions and behaviors. The emotions of crying, of being happy, of being sad are essential to the identity of humanity. They're almost spiritual in a sense.
What's essential? What's essential to the identity of a man, Ozzy?
Hold on, wait, because this will clear some things up for both of you. So I believe when we're talking about something being essential, there are small differences between men and women, but those differences will be exaggerated in different ways. One way or the other, as long as we see differences, we will continue to categorize them so that we can communicate them in some way. Like we just do this as humans. We automatically categorize them
because we're intelligent.
Because the differences exist,
Tom,
we will automatically categorize them.
You're saying men and women. Do you mean male and female?
Yes, that's right. Yes, but males and females, they have
I'll
small
agree that there will be
between
small
them.
biological differences, and they will be increased potentially like to an exorbitant amount because of socialization. I'll agree with that for sure.
Yes. So, and then once we have that, we will automatically categorize those differences so that we can communicate them, right?
That is by definition what masculine and feminine are the opposites of each other. In that fucking
not necessarily opposites, but they are. Yeah, they're not opposites, but they
contrasting averages of behavior or physical differences.
Yes,
it's like,
yeah. So,
but
like,
it's not even about.
When we say they're not opposites, that means that like we'll put them on a spectrum and put them on opposite poles, but each characteristic is not an opposite of another thing. So like if we say wearing pink is a feminine thing, there's not an opposite of that except for that men are not doing that thing. Right?
You have to stop this thing. Because I understand what Azzy was saying. And like, I want to move back a little bit when he was talking about behaviors versus what was the other word you used? Actions.
Actions, yes. Behaviors and actions.
Okay, chill out.
What is this? What is this? What is this?
Keep up. I'm saying I understand. I'm trying to give the steel man and everybody already tired. Like, yo, you ain't even heard me yet.
It's like he said, it's 40 degrees over here in Canadian weather, yo. I'm dying.
I'll I know. 102 every day.
Come on, y'all making excuses.
Because it was the worst part of the conversation. Okay, it was the worst.
Sorry, I'm in my feminine right now, bro.
It was
because the women are doing it.
I love that for you.
Well, just real quick, we got 200 people watching. When we went over the behaviors versus actions, I polled the audience, and 70% of them agreed.
I do not care what a majority of people think. I will never care what a majority of people think.
Okay,
I don't know why you would bother telling me that.
Because the point is that the way that this is being communicated just doesn't make sense to most people, and so me being confused on this isn't weird. That most people think that actions are behaviors, and so it's hard to separate.
We are the higher beings, and you are down there with the plebs. We understand, but I'll break it down for you. I got you, Tom. I'm sorry, I'm just messing with you. But I'll break it down for you, Tom.
Ban him. Assert your authority. Be masculine.
I am in my masculine
right now. He's trying to steel man you, and you're telling him to ban him.
I'm not disrespectful.
I know. I think like how do I describe this? It's like, okay, because he was using the term like of being a leader and leadership, and I think a more accurate way to describe this is like, because you said that like we describe words essentially by like what people do. Like you describe masculine and feminine by what men and women do. That's kind of roughly
or what we associate with men and women. Yeah, sure.
So like at some point in the future, theoretically, there might come a point where there is 60% of managers are like women, right? Like that's theoretically possible. Would you then say being like a manager is like a feminine trait now? Like that being a leader is a feminine trait?
Yes.
Okay. I think that well, for one, I disagree. I think being a leader is just a masculine thing, and women can be masculine, and that's okay. You can do it, queen.
Yikes! Yikes!
Panel.
No!
This is the inherent.
Should we-
We're
So
combating
tight.
this.
Why would
This
you
is why I'm
do
against
this?
all of y'all. This is why I'm
No,
against
yeah,
you,
no, yeah,
Katie,
yeah, no,
Carol,
yeah, but like,
Tom.
no,
No.
yeah. But, like,
Everybody
no,
just
I, no,
loves
I
being
got you, I
dumb.
got you. No, that was me. But like, what he was saying is that men are more
national
likely to
pastime.
be
We love our
leaders.
stupidity. We need to let that go.
Well, so hold on, because Kuro
no,
actually
more like-
defines masculinity based on
yeah,
things
I
that are
very-
like overpowering, like dominating things. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah, the
is what
execution
masculinity
of
will
is.
never
will
not be
versus
masculine,
their
even when
assumption of
more
will,
women
yeah.
are aggressive. When more women are aggressive, it won't then become feminine. Aggression will not then become feminine. It will just be
I
a
know-
masculine thing that women engage in.
I hate
see-
this so
I-
much. This is so bad. I
Hold
need to
on,
argue
hold
with you
on,
about
wait,
this.
hold on. Okay, so I think that it would, if that was the case. I don't think that that'll ever be the case because of the differences between testosterone and estrogen. But I do think that
You agree
if
with
that
me.
was the case, so like we can
Socialization.
name, yeah, so we can name a bunch of other things like we named before that were considered masculine and feminine, but changed over time because men and women changed whether or not they were doing it or whether or not we associated them with men and women. And so those changed whether or not they were masculine or feminine. But whether or not, yes, like aggression, yes, that will always be masculine because testosterone makes us more aggressive. And so we will always be associated with more aggressive things.
Yeah, here's an example too. Is like going to school and being whatever the fuck a professional or educated was a masculine thing, but now we're seeing like 60% of people in college are women. It's getting to the point where it's like some amalgamation of feminine traits are making the optimal human being for the situation and structure and circumstance of being in whatever post-secondary and shit. And
I
so
would
they're
agree,
kicking
but
ass.
that's-
They're
that
gonna
is
come
the
out with more
action.
degrees and end up being managers, and that shift is, you know, maybe in the next 5 to 10 fucking years. But
I agree.
it seems like
100%,
being
but that's
feminine
the
is
action.
kicking ass in
But
that education.
I think the issue that we run into is like there's nothing wrong with that action, but I think a lot of people don't like the idea of like I'm trying to find the words to say. Essentially, like I think a lot of people don't like the idea of like women leading in the relationship, or like this idea that people have that if you have the money you lead. I think that's weird for some reason.
That's
But,
a very
like,
modern.
Oh,
thing.
that yeah,
Very
that
modern
goes.
red
Can I-
pill
That's
thing.
it seems to be that way. But like because people code that as being masculine when it's like there are other things, there are other ways in which you can be masculine, which is not having money. I don't even believe that having the money or making the money makes you masculine. Like if you're a pimp, and you've got like I don't know, like 5 hoes on the street and they all make the money and then they bring it to you, are you no longer the man of that relationship? Like there is a difference between doing the action and the way that you express the action. I think is the what he was trying to say essentially.
Alright.
Can I
Like
say something?
you can go do the action, but like the expression
Ozzy,
itself
please.
and the way that it comes out,
No, Katie, no. This
Please.
is
the way
no,
that it's
no.
socially
Please.
expressed and the way we
Please.
socially see this
Oh
thing can
my
be totally different.
god. You guys.
No, because would you call the matriarch of your household a man? Would you say she's masculine? Everybody listens to her. She's telling people what
It
to
depends
do.
on how she leads, but like for the most part, like yeah, she probably has
lot
some
of
masculine
No,
traits, so
I don't think you
probably-
call her a man. I think you call her a boss. That's it. Like I'm like my mom's a boss. I wouldn't be like my mom's. I would say the man just because it's like I talk slang or whatever the fuck. But is a boss as in like she kicks ass. You definitely use those types of descriptors, not necessarily call her masculine. But it's one of those things where like it may again culturally technically be a masculine thing that she's taking the role of the stereotype that's a layover from 50 years ago or 100 years ago where men were the ones that were bringing the money and so they had to be in that place, and it's like everyone relied on them, so they inherited the power of leader because they had all the money and basically they could say whatever the fuck they want at the end of the day. But it's like at this point in time we need to teach people to just grow up, because a lot of this shit is like you're a high school kid or you're just fucking old school and a dumbass if you're living in basically a past paradigm, right? So it's like people haven't culturally caught up to how the landscape has shifted, and it's just like an immature mentality. Be like, I don't want a woman leader. It's like you're a team, figure it out, and like work with your strengths.
I'm
and shit.
gonna drop a hot take right now. There can't barely be a leader in a 2-person relationship. That doesn't even make sense. You're just passing shit back and forth. There's no
That's
leader
great.
there.
I have
Team.
2 things to say. Please.
But there
Oh
just
my
need to
god.
be leadership in the relationship. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Katie. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you. It's just 2 things, and then you
Sorry.
guys can do this. I don't care.
I
Like
meant to let you go before that. I had to get it out. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So first of all, Kuro, I know you can handle this. By far, the thing is that you said about like now that I'm hearing you more, I'm also understand. So your view of femininity and masculinity is, and I say this with love, okay? There's no moral
Okay, I can take it.
condemnation
Hit
in
me.
this.
Hit me. I got
It's
this.
like, it's unironically the most misogynistic set that was said on this panel. Like it's so like deeply hateful of both men and women in a way. I wish we were alone so I could like murder you in a video game about it, you know? Like I have so much to say.
I don't understand how so.
I've had this fight with him before, and it is. I've had this fight with him before.
Is that the first thing? Or do you have two more things to say?
I believe that.
I just have one more thing to say.
Okay.
I just one more thing to say, and then I can very quickly tell you why it's awful shit. Horrible. Love you as a person, though. Awful shit. Okay.
Ideas, though.
The second thing, no, I love his ideas. I just think he's misguided with that one.
You do be wrong sometimes.
The second thing that I wanted to say was that if 60% of women were managers, Tom wouldn't consider it a feminine quality. Neither would most people. It would still not be associated with femininity because we already agreed that people use fallacies and not what actually is happening in reality. It's nonsense. Like, it is true that if women were the majority of like managers, that wouldn't suddenly make manager a feminine trait. It just wouldn't. That is just like I reject this. And those are the two things that I wanted to say. That's it. Continue.
Okay, wait.
I
I am
address
curious
the-
on what I believe is misogynistic, because
Hold on.
I think. Oh, what's up?
Let wisdom speak. Go ahead, Aaron. Let wisdom speak.
No, I had some questions about this because there's a big problem with the language of nowadays. Why does someone have to lead a relationship when it's a cooperation? Nobody's using the
that's
word.
my point. It's like you have two people. There's no space for leadership. You don't even have enough for a team. You're passing shit back and forth between who's strongest in what area. There's no room for any leaders.
Honestly, if you're leading, you're probably dating someone who's too young for you in a way that it's like, oh, I have to guide you. It's like when the guy is like a couple years older and the chick wants a dad, basically, and so finds a guy that can like.
Well, single,
And that happens. It does happen. And sometimes those things work. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. My issue comes in when we
to each their own. If it's healthy and whatever the fuck.
Exactly. When we start making things masculine or feminism, or feminist, or giving them an idea of gender when they just are general being. Everybody has their own way of being, and we start putting these boxes on people that don't fucking exist just in our minds. These colloquial or dialectic concepts, which we turn them into religion. Somebody was telling me the other day, it's like TOS has become religion, right? I don't mean to get off topic, but I think the same way with this group think about our genders, about how we deal with one another. You know, a lot of this is religiously based, and it's in the agenda and not being spoken about. And that's the other thing that drives me nuts about
it's
this.
Not. It's not. It's not really. It's culturally based. I don't.
Ooh, I can't agree with that. I can't.
I don't want to get semantic because Tom hates that. Right? We got to keep things the way normal people speak. Okay.
No, I like semantics.
All right. So when we talk about religion, I know what you mean. We're talking about Catholics. I understand. So we blame Catholics for everything.
Christianity, it's all of it. It's all of it. I mean, all teaching
There's a lot of church hurt going on there. That's why she came at me. You know, I'm not Catholic though, Katie. Right? Appreciate you.
No, it's all religious people. It's not a Catholic thing.
It's not even true, but okay. I appreciate you.
I mean, we can.
No, I mean my
your historical context.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Your experience with crazy people doing crazy things. It has nothing to do with religion.
If it has nothing to do with your religion, me and Sass are still waiting for the answer that you have to what things are essentially masculine and feminine that should not be crossed.
I mean, like, I still am waiting on how I was misogynistic. I'm legit not letting that go.
You don't have to let that go. Dude, we should talk about it.
I was curious.
I have a lot to say.
Masculinity and femininity are socially constructed. Okay, there's no essential.
But what does that really mean? Like, I feel like when we get
let him do the thing. Let him do the thing. He's so close.
But we can make social things essential. Is that true or not?
What are those things? Name them.
You want me to get my
And give your reasons.
Okay, so patriarchy is masculine. Being a father is masculine, right?
Definitionally.
Huh? Silence?
Definitionally.
Eh? Silence?
Definition. Wait.
I don't know.
What? We're using two definitions. What the fuck?
No,
we're talking like
No,
We're
but
not
those
talking
words
about
are derivative
traits?
of being male in position, right? It's
Hey,
like
then,
fathership
yeah.
is the leader, or is the is the dad,
Yes,
is the male parent.
This is why
and
this is
patriarchy
why
is a
my
male
first
run
example
thing.
way back when, which we
Wait.
just didn't accept for
Wait,
some
wait,
reason.
wait.
That's like
We're
That's like
talking
saying
about.
males will always have penises.
it's
That's like
feminine.
a very kind of like a.
Okay,
Things we
Azzy,
used to
maybe I
wear.
misunderstood you. If
No,
you
you
mean
didn't
things,
misunderstand. You just don't want to accept. This is a faith issue. You don't want to.
No. I'm coming towards you. I might have misunderstood
Y'all
you.
are all intelligent human beings.
Father is, yes, a thing that only a male can
like-
fulfill definitionally.
It's like
That is
descriptively.
not a masculine trait.
You could say
Like
things
being
that
a
fathers.
father
their
is,
responsibility or
comprised
role.
of traits.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say
What?
like being a father is
Okay.
masculine.
This is the exact
The
same
way
as like
we
a
use-
leader does certain things. It's comprised of traits, of actions.
Okay, but if anything, hold on, because if we understand social contracts, it's just that if men do it for so long and men exhibit certain traits in the roles or actions that they do, it could be a feminine man, it could be a feminine man, but if we determine that those feminine traits are the masculinity of today, then that is masculinity. Okay,
Ozzy?
even if that would
What?
have been considered feminine like 40 years in the past.
What about being a father? What trait of
Only
being a
men
father is masculine?
Essentially, however they realize it or idealize it, if only a man can conduct it. So essentially, that is an essential masculine thing.
Okay, so because a father is definitionally a man, then a man, male, we mean male, but I'm going to say man for the sake of simplicity, then everything that he does is masculine, which is completely different than everything we've just talked about so far. That's your definition now.
Wait,
Anything that a man does is masculine.
Wait.
For how?
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
this is
wait,
the
wait,
issue. I
wait,
do feel like
wait,
men do not have this- do not have this.
Hold on. We associate
Katie gotta go get her
masculinity.
ears checked.
We associate masculinity with males, okay? Like generally, we would associate masculinity with males. Not even like we would say that somebody is a man if they are comprised of like mostly masculine traits. Like this is how we kind of gender people. So this is he is correct when he says like being a father is a masculine thing. Of course it is.
Did you guys see the panel of Jubilee where they were talking about the alphas versus betas and alphas versus betas? They didn't group them. The men just like kind of just went that way because they thought they would be perceived that way. But a lot of them themselves probably say, I'm not really an alpha, I'm not really a beta. But it's just like, and then in the conversation, they talked about things that all men do, and they were trying to come to the conclusion that all the things that they were doing were masculine. They were just on a spectrum. But
If we
what
are now
essentially means-
claiming,
We're not claiming it.
claiming that anything that a guy does is
Nothing has
masculine,
changed.
then the entire conversation we had, if anything that a guy does is masculine by the virtue, if every trait that a guy has is masculine by the virtue of them being a guy, our entire conversation before is pointless.
I don't think.
Yeah,
you're not saying.
was, but that's not the point we're trying to make. It was kind of pointless. And now we moved on from it. So this is what we're and I'm sorry.
Then
Katie.
why did you work to convince
Hold
Tom
up.
with that?
No, I was
Hold
just
up.
trying. Hold on.
Yeah. Hold up. I think I can clarify
didn't
real quick.
Convince Tom of anything. I was trying to convince Tom to now stop making ontological arguments for things that are socially constructed.
I'm gonna because I feel like there's.
I get it. Okay, I
Which
get
is
it.
which is me asking him, is leadership and emotion?
I
Did
get
I
what
ask-
you're saying. I
And
disagree
Tom,
with you,
what
but I
did
get
you-
it.
Never answered, by the way. It was never answered.
Y'all are just like y'all.
It was
maybe I'm
answered. I
just
said over and
y'all
over.
are
I
algebra.
don't think.
This is crazy.
I said over and over, I don't think it's an emotion, but I never found out why he was asking that. Like, we started down that path and never got to it.
Because I kept saying that every human has emotions that we all exhibit. All right. And the way we exhibit them can be different between men and women, but we all experience sadness. We all cry. Okay. It's just that we will tend to judge people if they kind of cry like a woman, or like they're bawling uncontrollably, or if they cry they cry too much.
Bro,
like
don't
a
nobody
woman.
cry cute.
Super
Hold
quick
up.
comment on that.
I agree with you.
I know you do. I know
Yeah.
you do. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm
Everybody's
with you.
that we're
I
talking
know.
about trying to undo, right?
Good.
Like the stigmas
Get those Q-tips.
Yeah,
You know.
that's basically
I'm
the issue is
so
that
lost.
people saw this behavior of crying as more feminine, and what's a more feminine male? A potentially gay male. And what did we hate? Gay people. So it was basically like, don't be a pussy, don't be a bitch, don't be like a woman, don't be like a gay. Why you crying? Be a fucking man, bro. So it's like, it's just times have moved, but culture hasn't caught up with the fucking clock. And so we do need to grow. I want to kind of get back to what you said a second ago, where there seemed to be a moment of confusion between you and Katie, where she asked you what were things that would be like consistently inherently masculine, and you had given titles that are like intrinsically attached as like we
Titles.
describe
What titles did I give?
a father and a patriarchy, which mean like a government or a leading structure that is mostly male is a patriarchy. A father is like the parent that has the penis. You know what I'm saying? It's like those were more
The male
descriptive language versus where I think where her question or where we're trying to meet at is like
I know where the confusion
hold up,
is.
let me just finish that sentence real quick. And yeah, you're on it, I'm sure, Katie, but it's like what behavior, like being more assertive, would necessarily stay that way if we balanced out everything else because of our biology? Like what parts of it are unfixable with socialization or
The confusion
can't flatten out?
The confusion comes from the fact that I look at it from like a gender neutral lens, like from a gender abolishment perspective. So shut up, Ozzy. So because of that, I do agree that there are no feminine and masculine traits. We're all just exhibiting human traits, right? Which Ozzy's point, he accepts masculine and feminine, but at the end of the day, it's not that there are traits that are masculine and feminine. It's just that you embody every trait femininely or masculinely depending on your gender. So we're saying the same things, but with different conceptualizing frames. But yeah, we agree. We just disagree on I guess semantics. It's not really semantics.
No, it's not semantics. It's like this fundamental belief that patriarchy and fatherhood are something that only men can exhibit, or that it's idealized that men take these positions. And
yeah, which is a really weird position to have, considering that there are no traits that are endemic to fathers that women can't have. Right?
But
that's the entire point.
But okay, but it's not that mother and father are different because the traits are different. It's different because they are suited for positions that men hold and positions that women hold. It's the traits and behaviors and the traits, behaviors, and emotions that they use when they facilitate those roles doesn't matter. It's the main.
This was what worries me, because you say stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm not sure we agree now. You know.
Main thing that matters when we're identifying something that as masculine is there a man in that position, and how is he exhibiting, how is he performing and exhibiting his emotions and actions and behaviors in that role?
Is it possible?
And then we will say, if women step into that role and then start exhibiting the same behaviors, actions, and emotions that the man had once exhibited in that role, then she is also performing masculine, in more masculine, performing in her masculine. She's being masculinity.
So, Azzy, are you saying it's culturally temporal, that this isn't a constant, that it's something that does adapt? It's an adaptive quality that you're talking about?
So it's what Tom said. It's exactly what Tom said. When people use words,
contradicts what you said earlier.
It doesn't contradict what I'm saying, because I made a differentiation between what I said. I literally made a differentiation in the moment of saying it. What's so hard to understand? I said there's a
I have
difference
a
between
question.
the emotions that we all essentially have and the how we perform them. There's a difference between it and how it is utilized.
Ozzy, what roles do fathers fulfill that mothers do not?
Okay. What roles? No. I feel that that
Say
question is kind of
protector.
flawed. No. That question is flawed because father is a role. I mean, what role does father? Now there are certain
But the
things that
behaviors
fathers
of the
do.
You're
role,
very
right?
close.
Or the responsibilities and behaviors of the role.
I can say this.
Yeah.
I'll concede this, right? Men have a perception where men show up, people perceive them as, as fulfilling a role. A man doesn't even have to do anything. If the father is just there,
What?
he is now. Yeah, yes. There's a lot of times. Yeah, if the father is just there, like if he's there at the parent-teacher conference meeting, or if he's there just standing there in the family, they'll think he is the father of the children. They'll think he is the patriarch of the household. They will ascribe to him the position and the roles and everything that goes along. I'm using the wrong words. They'll ascribe to him the traits and emotions and behaviors that go along with the role. Father is the role.
I'm going to take another guess, okay? I was wrong with my last guess. Not quite sure on that, but perhaps I was wrong with my last guess. We'll see. Is it possible that you're doing this thing because you put a really high value on like modeling? So you think children need like a father figure that is demonstrated by a guy for the sake of masculinity? Is that what it is? Is that why the need to separate a mother from a father? Because, like, what happens if there are two mothers?
Hi. What happens if there's two mothers?
Yes, there's no father. So
hot.
what role what is missing from that child's life?
What's missing from that child's life? They I guess if how would I say this correctly without offending people? If a man isn't
No
there,
shot.
and that man,
Here, I'm not afraid to offend people. I'll
That man
say
is
what
not-
you're not gonna say.
yeah, okay,
Okay.
yeah.
A man isn't there.
Let
A man
me
isn't
explain
there
what he's
and
trying
he's
to
not-
not
Shush!
say.
Shut up.
How you gonna say this before me?
I know you're trying to be nice and PC. I'm gonna say what you don't want to say.
A man isn't there and he's not performing in the way that society has deemed to be the father behavior, the father
What
trait.
is father
He's taking too
behavior,
long. Rip off the
Ozzy?
band-aid,
Actually,
Dave.
say
You got it,
traits. You're
Dave.
just like
Okay.
saying like random
What
rules.
is
You're not
father
specifically
behavior?
saying it.
Yeah.
Base Tom Oreos. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Dave.
Yes.
I'm gonna speak for him for the moment.
I'm a good
Fatherly
lesson.
traits are usually to be a protector and provider for the family.
That's what I
wasn't gonna say
said.
that. No,
That's
that
not
wasn't
what
what I
he
was gonna
thinks,
say.
though. That's not what
That's what I
he
was
thinks.
gonna
He would be a total coward if he thinks that.
And
His
I'm
whole
not a
point is
coward.
that he doesn't think
I'm not
that.
going to the Lake of Fire.
What do you
I'm
think
not-
it is then? Just say it. It's not that hard. Just
Yes, Ozzy, just
if
say
you
it.
sound dumb, who
I
cares?
already-
Just say it.
Yeah, I literally just said it. If a man isn't there to fulfill the because I'm conceptualizing it right now. I don't think about this stuff all day. And I don't talk about this stuff on repeat. So if a man isn't there to fulfill the role that society deems,
What role?
and that role goes along with the social
What social?
No, I'm not even protector because a mother.
Provider.
Stop. So if a man isn't there to
Let him
if a
reach
man
it on
doesn't
his own.
cry- if a man doesn't cry in a way that society deems
Masculine?
sufficient for a man, well, yeah, we're talking about masculinity. I'm not going to use the word to define the word.
Well,
If a man isn't there to cry in a way to model crying in a way for their
modeling.
for boys, or well,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, there you go. I figured it out. A man needs to
Good.
be there to model certain behaviors that society has deemed as masculine.
Awesome. So if there's a girl and she's raised by two moms, she's not lacking anything from her life, right?
Well, if
No.
if those both moms aren't there to model the behaviors that society has deemed as masculine, then yeah, you probably need a father there.
Why?
Unless
Why
one of
does
those
she need
mothers,
that?
unless one of those mothers are fulfilling the father role.
What is
But-
the father role?
But
Okay,
aside from being aside from being a male,
you're
what
doing a
is-
roundabout thing. I've already answered this. You're really being roundabout for no reason. I've already answered.
You're being
This
extremely
is why
vague.
no, I'm not. Because we understand that women can uphold patriarchy and women can hold roles in a masculine way, especially if a man isn't there to have the role. So we understand that women can behave
Yes,
in a
I
way
agree
that
with
we
you,
expect
but
men
you
to.
sometimes contradict yourself. I agree that men and women can fulfill both roles because I don't think there is like a gendered thing at all. You're the one who's saying that there's some meaning to
gender.
masculinity
Nobody's
and
talking about
femininity.
gender. Nobody's talking about gender. I'm talking about a man, a male.
So a mother can fulfill a father's role, correct?
A mother can fulfill the role, but that doesn't mean she is a father. She is.
So
she
what
can
you're saying?
fulfill
Okay,
the role.
okay, hold on, wait. So what you're saying is that a father is a male who is a parent.
It's masculine for a reason because we typically, Tom, you know this.
You're
So I don't
wait,
even
but when we're saying like
We
something
typically
that's masculine,
identify
we're saying
masculine
it's
as
something that
men,
we associate
as
with a
men.
male. And yes, you're
Yes.
saying that a father is a male who is a parent. Yes, that is. Yeah, there you go. Done.
Yeah.
What are the traits or
The
behaviors
special
of
thing
a
that
male
we
parent
is
that make them
masculine. It's a
different
masculine word.
from?
Hold on. Can father be a feminine word?
I mean, it can be.
No, let Katie handle
No.
this. And she wants to be
Yeah, let me
roundabout.
handle this.
No, we all know.
Father.
We all know. the answer.
Father is a descriptor. It's a male parent. So can it be feminine or masculine? It's neither. It's a descriptor. It's a title.
No.
It's
But you could
related.
be-
It's related to a male. You might say that fathers exemplify masculine traits, which you have yet to identify.
You can be a woman and be fatherly, but you can't be a woman and be a father.
Okay, I agree with that. But then Ozzy doesn't explain what being fatherly is. He doesn't give any real adjectives.
That's
Okay, that's what my contention was.
The
So,
masculine
hold
parenting
on, wait,
of a father.
yes,
has,
hold on. Yes, I think Katie's correct. Like, it's not being a father isn't necessarily a role. It is just a male
title.
who is a parent. It is a label that we
Yeah.
put on somebody who is a male and is a parent.
That's what I said earlier. It's just a descriptive thing. Like patriarchy is just government majority by men. It's like women uphold that patriarchy by voting more men in. If they took over, it would be a matriarchy, right? So it's like
You can
it's
be a
descriptive, it's not
feminine
the
father.
behavior.
Yes,
That's not
it's
necessarily
obvious.
Absolutely.
The root
No,
word of
that's not necessarily true because if women take over and they perform and behave the same way the men previously acted, then it's still the patriarchy. It's just men performing towards the patriarchy.
But there's still a mother,
it would
not a
just mean
father.
that the matriarchy is similar to a patriarchy. That's all it would come down to. It would still be by definition a matriarchy because it's a descriptive title. It's not saying matriarchy or saying patriarchy or father or mother does not describe the behaviors of those roles. It's biologically like the one that gives birth to the fucking child versus the one that carried the sperm and then has a penis versus whatever breast and a vagina to live their life with afterwards.
If you want me
and
to bite the
whatever.
bullet on saying protector, be the leader, be the provider.
No,
that's not what we're saying.
I don't want you to say it.
No, we do not want you to say that. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that, like, yes, if you just say a male who is a parent is what a father is, and a father just happens to be masculine, that's fine. But when you're almost conflating the two instead of just saying a father is a male who is a parent, and we're just putting the label father on it to label that thing. That is a much better way of describing it instead of calling it.
Yeah, it's an easier way to understand it, but we could if you break it down to its fundamental roots, there is no one adjective that has to be masculine or has not to be masculine. It's just that if a man is if it's a male, if it's an attribute of a male, then it's going to be deemed as masculine. And if it's performed over time, it's going to be, like you said, Tom, deemed as masculine because a male is performing it. A man is performing it. I don't need to give adjectives. I don't need to fulfill the requirements that you're asking because we all understand that it doesn't matter. Over time, if a man does it, it's going to be deemed as masculine. Over time, if a woman does it, it's going to be deemed as feminine. But if in one point in history there's a man and it's deemed as masculine, and society hasn't moved on from that, and masculine, and they now deem the masculine as gender neutral or feminine or whatever. If they haven't moved the goalpost on what is masculine, then if a woman comes in and she acts the very same way that the man acted previously in order to fulfill that role, she's going to be deemed as masculine. She's going to be deemed as upholding the patriarchy. She's going to be deemed as...
Not if the men stop being that way, though.
No, we said
And
that's
it's
not
that
true.
men move,
of
men
the
move out
moment,
of that
or is
role.
that-
I just said that.
colloquial
Wait,
observation of the moment,
wait,
or is
wait,
that
wait.
actual? I mean, I think
Wait.
it's a lot of personal observation and projection
Wait.
from whatever surrounding in the society. Sounds to me.
Ozzy, your point was that there are some things that would always be masculine and feminine, and that we should delineate those. And now, whenever I ask you to tell me what are those things, you gave me a descriptor, which is a father, a title. So, but those things are not attributes that will forever remain masculine or feminine.
But we will always deem no, because we will always deem them as masculine, because only a man will typically be a father and model fatherhood for a woman or a child to pick up.
I gotta break this down.
Wait,
The end of
hold on.
time.
Wait,
like that forever.
Wait, hold on. Everybody, chill. Hold on.
That's not true.
Hold on. I don't know why we're stuck on this thing on father. Like, I have no idea. This seems to be the most like irrelevant part of the conversation, and we've been stuck on this for 20 minutes. It is a very like irrelevant aspect to the conversation.
We're out of it, bro.
It's not. It's because Ozzy cares about modeling, traditional modeling, for religious reasons.
No, because there's no male or no. Stop doing that. That's slick. That's slick. I'm not gonna let you get away with that because, like I said, there's no male, female in God. If I really wanted to get really religious on y'all and start preaching to the choir, I could say there's godly attributes that we should and beatitudes that we should all aspire to. The king priest the kingdom priest way of living.
Gender abolition. Go.
No.
Let's do this.
It's not gender abolition. There's essential gender behaviors found in godliness, but that doesn't mean godliness is gendered.
Okay.
What are those essential genders?
No.
This is a whole different discussion.
No, yes, we are not doing this again. No,
why
it
won't
doesn't
you
matter.
say it?
It doesn't
whole
matter.
Different discussion.
Because
it's a whole different
you guys,
discussion.
No, you guys are trying to lead him down a path of something that he's not saying, and you keep pushing him to try to say things that he's already said he's not saying.
No, we're not.
Yes, you are.
Tom?
You 100% are.
Tom?
Yes, you are.
Tom.
Yeah.
They lie. That's
all I'm asking. Ozzy has made a claim that there are traits that will always be masculine or feminine, and that now we can delineate them. And whenever we ask him what those are, he can't define them. And he'll then default. He can't define them. And then he'll say, well, if a man performs it and it's the current cultural stereotypes of the time, then those are masculine.
Yes.
So if it's the cultural stereotypes of the time, that is not forever, and that does not answer my fucking question.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so we already
we
already gave a bunch of things earlier. Okay, we already gave a bunch of things earlier, like aggression will always be considered a masculine thing. Like being aggressive will pretty much always be considered a masculine thing because it is something.
Wait, hold on. Yeah.
I love it when my girls get aggressive with me, when they want to roll around and love me and tough love.
Do you agree, Ozzy, that aggression is fundamentally a male trait?
When my girl taps into the masculine and she gets a little rough, I'm like,
Tom, I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you to make Ozzy's points for him.
Ooh, babe.
Yes, I don't care. We're on a freaking panel. You're
We're
not
gonna
just.
sit
It's
here
not
for
just
like
the
20
two
minutes
sitting
and
here
you're
talking by
trying to
yourselves.
say it.
My
Yes,
God,
I
you're
understand.
fine.
And you guys have been stuck on it for 20 minutes. I am going
you're
to move
shooting
the
blanks.
conversation
No.
forward.
Okay, then Ozzy's a coward.
About
Fine.
emotional value.
She's shooting blanks and she thinks I'm
Ozzy's
being
a coward.
when
Ozzy's
her
a
bullet
coward.
won't hurt.
That's fine.
Okay, Azzy,
Oh my
hold on.
God.
Like, please, just yes or no. You do believe that aggression is a masculine trait that is kind of like inherent to men? Yes.
Not a virtue, but a masculine trait.
Yes.
Let him fucking answer.
Sorry.
I
Just throwing in a little fucking.
I believe aggression and rage are male issues that men often deal with.
We're not talking about
which
issues
is
or
why-
virtues. We're talking about traits. Are they masculine? And
Why do
will
you
they
keep
always be
beating around
masculine?
the bush?
Yes, you are playing games right now. This is what her
Why?
issue is. Like they're trying to get you to say yes or no.
You're trying to get me to say a certain thing, and I'm going to say no. It's
Yeah,
a problem that men deal with.
Okay.
It's not an inherent masculine thing. It's a problem that men deal with, which makes it masculine. And
Rage
it's a problem
is
that
not-
men have to
You,
deal with.
Tom.
Hold on, wait, no, hold on, because you answered a different question than what I asked. I asked
No, Tom, I said
aggression.
no.
No, I asked
No.
aggression. You mix that with
Is an
rage.
inherent
I am asking, yes,
aggression and rage, anger.
yes, rage can be aggression, but not all aggression is rage. Okay,
Is there
can
female
be aggressive.
aggression, Tom?
Yes, but does that mean that we consider it masculine or feminine is totally different? So you've already
I know we're
acknowledged
ending
that
the-
women can do things that are masculine. That doesn't make it feminine.
You're doing the Katie right now, Tom.
Let's
And
do
This
more
is
things that you might
feminine
not find
gloating right
offensive.
now.
No,
I am
am
so
trying
feminine
to
and so
move the
gloating.
conversation
It's okay.
forward.
Assertiveness.
And now
Assertiveness is a masculine trait, right?
I was wrong.
I'm just
said-
trying to
I
find
said
less
that Katie. Hold on.
No.
Hold on. I said that Katie was trying to get you to say something that you weren't saying. I was wrong. You are just not saying the thing, okay?
Yes.
You're doing the same thing right now.
Yeah,
You're
no,
trying to get me to say yes.
No,
I
I'm
just want
not.
you to say
No,
a trait.
I'm not trying
Give
to
me
get you
one
to say
trait.
anything. You won't actually give something that is
I
masculine
said
inherently.
No. I did say no. There is no inherent masculine emotion. There
Okay,
is no
we're not
inherent
talking about
masculine
emotions.
act-
I don't know why you're
Emotions, but
talking about
traits.
emotions. We're talking
Traits,
about
not
traits,
emotions.
not
Masculine
emotions.
pattern of behavior that
only
if you
traits?
leveled out
Assertiveness.
everything, what would men
Strength.
do more than women just because of a biological base stats?
Yes,
If
aggression
all
is not an
socialization was
emotion.
balanced out.
Aggression is not an emotion. Aggression is a trait. We're talking about things that are like always going to be masculine. You said there are some things that are always going to be masculine. We're trying to point out that yes, like most people would say aggression because of testosterone, men are always going to be more aggressive than women. Therefore, we will always associate it with men. Therefore, we
Yeah,
will
those
always
people are
call it
dumb.
masculine.
And
Yeah,
horny.
hold on.
Yeah, I misspoke. So yeah, aggression is something that we typically see in men because it's a problem that we typically see in men. But I will
It's not
still
always a problem.
Aggression doesn't
It's
always
not
have to
always
be
a problem.
negative.
Not always
Whoa,
men.
whoa,
And-
let him finish. Let the man finish. He's
No.
about to hang himself.
No,
Not
no,
in
it's
feminine-
because Tom is
in
trying to get him
feminine.
to say something
In
he
the
doesn't
black
want to say because
community,
Tom doesn't
I
get his
am not.
point.
No,
I
it's-
am not.
And can I
I'm
correct
asking
something?
him a
It's
question and he's
testosterone, it's the
answering
lack of
something
testosterone
different
that
than what I'm
causes
asking.
aggression.
in the black community.
I know.
Interrupting is feminine.
In the white community,
That's sexist.
mansplaining is masculine.
By the way, that's called patronizing, folks. Can we get rid of those?
Interrupting, that's a
Called
feminine
patronizing.
trait. It shows a lack of patience, a lack of stoicism. All right.
I don't have patience. I'm not stoic.
I am an
Time is a
emotional
finite
person.
currency, baby.
That was
I am
wrong
an
about
emotional
it.
person who screams and yells on
Is that what-
panels
is that what
and
you want me to say?
interrupts people and goes in on them. So that is what I do. I have some feminine
so we can
traits.
just interrupt you at any
I
time
am
then?
normalizing
Is that cool?
feminine
Yes.
traits.
He's the
This is
host,
what
bro.
I'm
He has
doing.
There
power.
is no such
The
thing as
power.
feminine traits, Tom.
This is what you want me to do. Okay. We can ascribe feminine and
Nurturing.
masculine traits, but I would
Nurturing is
say
a feminine trait.
I would say we can ascribe it to traits, behaviors, and actions. But I would say that there are certain emotions that are certain emotions and behaviors that are linked that we can't say that are essential to everybody. All right, that everybody.
Yeah,
can
it's the
have.
human experience, right? It's
When we
like we're
say
all
feminine- when we say-
experiencing being a
From
human
our
being.
mangina, then we can say that is a feminine trait, but honestly, it is all otherwise culturally derivative from what people value. And most of it in our society and Western world is puritanical and based off of Judeo-Christian beliefs. And it denies the past history. It's basically revisionism in my point of view.
Jesus is Lord.
Judeo-Christian is shitty and wrong and is a bad thing to say, and people
Katie
shouldn't
doesn't
do it.
believe that. Katie's just doing that because she has a political base.
Judeo-Christian values is just a way for Christians to erase
You
Judaism.
literally
Like,
have
it's-
America.
I'd
because
actually
of-
agree with that.
You literally have
I have to
America.
disagree as well.
and
That's
hold on.
okay. You're wrong.
Hold on.
No. We are not getting into a religious argument right now. That is not happening.
True.
That is not happening right now. This is not with these people. No. Not with this panel. Hell no, dude. That is not happening.
I don't know why
okay?
everybody.
Now you have to do
I
a new
appreciate that,
panel,
sir.
and you'll have
They
to
get-
invite me.
No, they get so indignant when I show up and I start being
I've
righteous.
learned a lot of things about
As he one of the few
Christianity
descriptively talk about
recently.
it. So thank you.
Can I ask a question? Why is every like religious debate between like Judaism, Christianity, and Catholicism like we never bring up like Hinduism or like I don't know
Because
any
people,
other
Americans.
people don't know anything about other
Because in
stuff.
America, there's not a lot of Hinduism.
Yeah, we're
representation.
Americans.
It sucks.
We don't
it's
run
just
into a
so
lot of
boring.
Hinduism, or even honestly, we don't have a whole lot of Islam here either.
Yeah, I mean,
Also,
people are gonna
Americans
talk
don't know
about
anything
things.
about Judaism.
not.
It doesn't
Not
matter, even
by
if they
much.
did know a lot about it, they're going to talk about the things that actually represent them in some way or that they can actually like associate with in some way. And so obviously they're not going to talk about something just because they know about it. They're going to talk about it because they actually
By
care
the
about
way,
it.
by the way,
Or stuff that
By
shows up
the
in the
way-
news.
By the
By
way,
the way,
when Americans, they don't actually speak about Judaism. It's just that you bring up the term Judeo-Christian, so it gives you the pretense that Jewish people are part of that conversation. They're fucking not. They're talking about Christianity. That's what I meant with the erasure of Judaism. No American that isn't Jewish is talking about Judaism. They don't know what they're talking about. They're really stupid. They're wrong. They're uneducated.
I
That's all.
would agree maybe in general.
I wouldn't say
that might be
no
true.
way, but
I grew up celebrating Hanukkah, Passover. Like I grew up singing all of the Jewish songs. I grew up,
That's great.
with Jewish, working for Jewish nonprofits. Like
Great.
maybe that's true in some places, but in the South, where everything's about like, saving the promised land, saving the Jewish people, making sure we send money over to them. Neocons very much care about Jewish people and appreciate their culture
Yeah.
and represent
So
them
what
when
I
they
mean-
say Judeo-Christian values.
So what I mean is that for you to think that Judaism is about like sending money to the promised land, what most Orthodox don't believe in Israel is the state of the
That's what
Jews,
it's about.
is like the problem, right?
Right.
That's what I
not
mean
what I
with like
said.
lack of education.
That's not what I said.
Which is
That is
fine.
not what I said. That is a massive
okay.
straw man of what I
I
said.
thought you didn't want to
you were
talk
gonna
about
have a
religion.
It is yes.
Yeah, I know,
I'm
right?
sure you think it's okay
Well,
that you just straw man
you
the
kind of
hell out of
attacked
me.
it, so
No. Do you want to talk about that, Tom? We can talk
No,
about
I
it.
don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Remember when I said that Pokemon literally was the creation of people?
He's literally thinking it earlier.
It's literally like
Watch what
we
you say,
have
watch what you
created
say.
people who there's this documentary
Pokemon?
that my friend sent to me about Pokemon, how Pokemon and games of its ilk have like they have like emulated and imitated and perfected the experience of the autistic collection of ants, right? That was the creator's autistic collection of ants. So now we
Okay.
have this generation of
Not
people
ants.
who have experienced and they say, and I'm
Emulated.
talking about you guys, I'm not gonna be passive aggressive. I'm talking
What
about all
are
of
you
y'all.
saying?
Y'all are,
What is your
y'all
point?
are-
Yeah,
I have no
What
idea.
is
people like
the date?
Pokemon and their
What
autistic.
is the
I don't
date?
know what the
What are you
relevance
saying
of this
about
is.
it?
Boy, that was the most
You are experiencing.
Pokemon's
I
feminine.
wanted to say something about
I've ever heard of.
Pokemon.
Let me
I'm
finish.
glad
Let me finish.
everybody's as
Insult
lost as me now.
Don't worry,
know.
Tom. None of us are following.
You're lost. Hold on. This is why.
Insult us, Ozzy.
What's wrong with y'all? This is why I directed it to Aaron. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the autist behavior.
This is a
that we're
panel.
emulating right
It's
now.
not a
Bruh.
one-on-one
Oh,
combo.
God.
What are you saying,
I'm not-
Ozzy?
I'm saying you guys have you don't know how to focus your emotions
Not
or you
six people just
Man,
don't know where you're
Wait,
going with this.
calls everyone else autistic.
You
Literally,
speak in
literally
freaking
say-
Respectfully, what
allegories,
was the
bro.
point? What was
You
the point?
speak in
So
allegories.
Pokemon
It's
and
like it's a
autism were collecting
poem or
ants.
something.
I just said it right. You literally say, "Let's not have a religious discussion," and then proceed to indulge Katie in a religious discussion. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? Like,
I don't want to have a
we're
religious
trying to-
discussion. You're on.
Trying to avoid going down the rabbit
Respectfully.
hole.
Yo,
But what was the point about
Ozzy,
Pokemon
add this
and
to
the
the ball.
autistic
He's
dream?
saying that we can't focus. We're ADHD, but he called it autism.
Yeah,
You know?
I was gonna say, isn't
Anyway.
autism literally fixations like that?
There's a
Yes.
fixation
It's fine.
within
Ozzy,
autism.
Ozzy, we don't want to talk about religion. So, there are no masculine and feminine traits, correct?
Why do you? What does that mean? Hold on, no. Because you keep saying that. What does that even mean, Katie? When you say there's no masculine and feminine, what does that mean?
Traits, though.
Are you asking me what I think? Because the entire panel you were yelling at us that we should use your definition.
No, not what you think. We're talking about what the word means. I'm not asking you what you think. I'm asking what the word means. What does that mean?
We already defined what the word means, Tom. And I already told you.
Define trait.
Yes.
No. Okay, if you're saying that we agree on the definition, you cannot say that it doesn't exist. It's literally impossible to say that it doesn't exist if you agree with my definition.
I can call the categories. I can understand how you categorize things, but say, in my opinion, these categories are invalid because they are comprised in a way that I find fallacious. I can still understand how you categorize them and still say that you're shitty at doing that and that your categories suck.
It's not fallacious, though.
It's not fallacious. That's not what
we've
fallacious
already been over this. Like, it's
I'm
not
sorry.
fallacious.
I meant fellatio.
Flawed. Your premise is fallacious. The way you're using fallacious is fallacious.
It's not fallacious because they actually are associated with the sex in some way. Like that is, it doesn't mean that necessarily the sex does that more often, but it does mean that there is an association with it, a strong association that makes it gendered. And that's not fallacious.
You don't need to define these things all day. Tom, if you allow me to indulge your question.
Ozzy fucking God. Tom, and we have illustrated that there's a circle in the way that you categorize it. So your category system is circular.
Wait,
so I say that's bullshit.
No, that's not true. No, when we were talking about circular, we're not talking about like definitions being circular. We're talking about the fact that like when we do you remember a while ago we had a debate on Jordan Peterson, and at one point he starts talking about the fact that like when we socialize things into society and it becomes a norm, it starts to become part of our DNA, and as it becomes part of our DNA, it becomes more ingrained in society, and when it becomes more ingrained in society, it becomes more ingrained in our DNA. That's kind of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about gender, where I'm saying because we say this is gendered now and it's a social norm, it means that people are more likely to do it now, and now because people are more likely to do it, it becomes gendered. But it being circular,
it reinforces
in that way,
itself through language.
Yes, that is reinforcing. That is not a circular like definition, so it still makes sense.
It's the
still
standing up
means
at a
something.
beat thing.
It means that prescriptively you don't like it, but descriptively it exists.
Okay, so how about if I tell you that descriptively, I don't think those are truths that you find in nature. I think it's the way that we categorize it. And there are other ways to categorize it. And we are enforcing a reality by choosing to categorize it in that way. We are using language to construct the world around us. Femininity and masculinity are not things found in nature, found in men or women, in my opinion. They're not essentialist qualities.
Yes,
they are stuff that we created. Created and enforced. So I say that your categories are invalid to me. So I'll use them in the conversation for you. But I personally think they're stupid.
Okay, literally none of that matters. Nobody's saying that they're necessarily essential.
Then why did you ask me what I think?
Because what your reasoning behind why you won't use it is just that it's a social construct, and therefore you don't. It doesn't mean anything. That's not how that works. It's like, I'm not going to Walmart. I'm not going to call it Walmart because Walmart is a business and businesses are socially constructed. I don't use the word Walmart because that's a social construct. Like, that doesn't make sense. What matters is that you are actually communicating the thing, and people understand what is being communicated.
Okay, I'll explain it to you. You're asking me.
No.
You're asking me. No. I will respond to what he said.
Tom is always just being descriptive. This is the problem I have with Tom, right?
No. But that's the thing. Not
Can I respond?
I have said over and over, if we want to have a prescriptive
responded to
conversation,
everything that's been said this whole conversation.
But when we're having a descriptive conversation, people are being prescriptive about the descriptions, and they're refusing to admit that they're descriptions, or that they're prescriptions and not descriptions. So we can't even get past the descriptive part because people are saying, well, that doesn't even exist, which means that they're actually making a descriptive claim now instead of a prescriptive claim. So we can't get past that. Yeah, she's saying that now. She's saying that now.
Can I say what I'm saying?
No. This I'm going to speak for you, okay? Because this is what you've always been doing, and you're always saying you're not doing this. What you're doing is you're confusing what I'm saying as descriptive. What I'm saying that I'm using both. I'm using both prescription and description.
Ozzy, I'm not even talking to you right now. I'm fighting with Tom. Okay, you are a different fucking story. You are so far away.
I'm not that far away because you asked me a question
So
and
far
Tom
away,
interrupted to talk about the problem with your question.
Yeah, I don't think so. Katie, when you're saying that it's not essential, therefore I don't use it, I don't think everybody else who's using it is saying that it's essential either. But so your reason for not using it doesn't make sense because nobody else is using it for that reason.
Okay.
Tom.
Okay. Do we agree that feminine and masculine are not things found in nature?
Yes.
No, they are absolutely.
I think that
sorry.
No. I know that we all actually have thoughts about this, but I need Tom to recognize that he has a bias. Okay, cool.
Hold on. Does male equal masculine?
I think there are some things that males have that make them more likely to have some masculine traits. Yes. Most of it is socially constructed in the same way sex is socially constructed as a category.
We don't need to make caveats because Katie's going to get us those caveats.
When you said masculine traits, I'm asking you, are masculine and feminine traits are stuff found in nature, or are those categories that you created?
They are categories that we created.
Good. Are they categories that we created the same way that sex is, that female and male are? Or is there a distinction there?
They are the same.
They are the same to you.
Yes.
Okay. They are absolutely not the same to me.
How?
Obviously.
Okay, so
because
you're not willing to engage in society. That's what you're saying.
Hey, Katie, are you saying the X and Y chromosome don't matter to you?
No.
Okay, so hold on.
You have to say at its root that gender exists in nature, right?
Wait,
it exists more in nature.
Hold on,
Katie, you're drunk.
I'm saying that sex is a social construct because we have decided on some sort of value that we are choosing to categorize there. So we're saying something essential to this sort of being is what we're categorizing when we call this female, right? So that we choose the value in order to categorize it first. That is how it is socially constructed in this way. The things that we're categorizing are biological, but how we categorize it is socially constructed.
Even when we say El, this is why this is why we don't say El Nina and La.
Literally, none of you understand what I'm saying.
Even
so how about you
Juve has been very patient. You should let him talk.
I do be chilling.
I'm good.
Like Canadian demeanor. Hater, yo.
Like he wants to talk, but
not a woman respecter. I see.
He's also going to call.
Yes, just Katie and I are trying to get past this part real quick. So yes.
Yeah, no, go for it. I'll interject in a second.
What I asked, and maybe I wasn't clear, I thought I was. We both agree that sex, male and female, are socially constructed, and feminine and masculine are socially constructed. I'm asking you if you find just the same of biological or essentialist validity between those two social constructs.
No.
Good. That's what I asked. So
you asked me if the categories are socially constructed the same way, and I said yes.
Okay, then I misspoke.
Okay.
Yo, I need to add something in here. All right. You're saying that the categories or sex itself is socially constructed when it is an observed thing. The language might be socially constructed, but the fact that you can apply whatever different language and you're describing the same thing. The point is, there's a sentiment, there's a thing, there's a physical reality that is just trying to be categorized by words. So my point is that sex and gender are not socially constructed. They are socially observed, and they're derivative of our biology. Gender roles are socially constructed. Just let me get through the thing. So when you go back into nature and you remove birth control and you remove fucking guns and technology and all that sort of shit, we're going to go way the fuck more into our masculine and feminine because our differences, we're going to have to lean into them to survive. That's how the fuck we got here. And so it's going to be even more blatantly clear what is a masculine trait, what is a feminine trait. That's where the nurturing stereotype comes from. That's where the physical aggression stereotype, though real based on biology, again, is used to have a functional role. now we've created circumstances, we've evolved to the point where we can ditch the roles, we can change the societal engineering, the social construct to, again, let all males and females be free to do anything that was a role for both sides. But I don't think sex itself, and I think, basically language is technically socially constructed, but it doesn't matter if you call it fucking whatever bullshit. And
so
yeah,
let me ask
I 100% disagree.
Okay, so Katie, let me ask you a question then. So do estrogen and testosterone make some differences between males and females?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so like if it has some differences,
I'm going to assume.
Okay, so in some of those differences, do you believe are going to change some of our like interests?
No.
No. Okay. What about like the way that we engage with one another?
No, I don't think behavior is down to that amount of like simplistic biology.
Okay, so like not everything, sure, but not even some things
at all.
Yes,
like
I'm asking if it's influence whatsoever. Like, do you think it'll
Can it
change some
influence
things?
it? Yes. Can it influence
Okay.
it? Absolutely. Partially,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I think most of us, when we're talking about gender, we're saying there are small differences between us that are going to change some of our interests. Now, Jube, when you said like we'll become more different when we go back farther, I disagree. I think the more we add into society, the more our differences start to show because there's more things for it to bounce off of now. Whereas like if we're in an animalistic area, there's very little things to show gendered characteristics now, and so the differences are going to be way less. So when we're talking about very small differences, these very small differences start to reflect on more and more things over time, and that's how they become so separated. I think they are over exaggerated because we saw small differences between us. So we'll see men are more we'll say men are more damn it, I'm blanking on the word. They're more. I'm
aggressive.
Yes, aggressive. Yes, men are more aggressive, and like women are more like empathetic. Okay, we'll take those and say now only men are supposed to be aggressive, and only women are supposed to be empathetic. And now we've separated these to where you are not allowed to be this other thing. You're not allowed to be this other thing, and that starts to grow as more and more social norms, and it attaches to more and more things like football, like like rearing children, or driving a car, working a job, being a mechanic. Like all of these things start to become gendered because we're assigning those attributes to more and more things over time that aren't necessarily all that different, or that aren't necessarily sexed in the way that we kind of do, or the way that we make them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to, if possible, if possible, I want to clarify real quick on one, and then hopefully I don't lose the thought on the rest because fuck a notepad right now. But I guess what I'm saying that they'll be more obvious. It's like the scope of human behavior is so much smaller that it's essentially survival, acquiring food, and then raising and like perpetuating the species, as opposed to now, like you said, there's all these different dynamics of different jobs and things to fall into stereotypes of what we call male and female. But I don't know that. We're actually, like, it feels like 50 years ago to say that like, oh, men have to be like just masculine and women have to be just feminine versus like 2023's state of mind and like the progressive moving forward whatever culture is defining both sides.
Right.
Yeah,
so I'm
coming out of
saying
coming out of the black and white.
We exaggerated them as we built on society, and now we're trying to fix that and bring it back together. The only reason that they are as separated right now as they are is because we over exaggerated the differences.
Sure, but those little fundamentals like aggression. So I'll focus this one point and then I'll pass it off. That one thing like male aggression, having more testosterone, it was like that was functionally necessary for like if you were a weak man, you're effectively a useless man back in the day. So it's like in that time it was whatever smaller scope of things, but it was like blatantly men are this whatever falling into the stereotypes of the brute versus the woman being in the mother's role and like how essential that was versus now having other options and things. But,
right, you can say it was necessary, but it was still over exaggerated.
Sure. Maybe, I think it's grown as the options keep growing, but I think it was more obvious then when it was like our roles were our gender roles and our sex roles and the responsibilities that we had and how forced those were because you couldn't really balance them out with technology. We're just like we were in our own lane and then whatever we collapsed the lanes and then people
Yeah,
on the
now we're
opposite
kind
ends
of
of a room
undoing it. Yeah.
trying to pull
But
them
this is
closer
the
together.
thing. This has happened over and over. We're just being more reactionary to it because we have more
Internet.
interaction about it and the
Right.
internet. And honestly, I think that a lot of the adaptation that we're what's going on there? I think a lot of the adaptation that we're seeing is, or the rejection of these ideas, or the some of the extremes, or experimentation, or any of it is a rubber band effect to the 80s, where gender roles were extreme to the point of the 1950s. And we'd come out of the 60s and 70s where sex and people were free and open, and all of that got really restrained in the 80s and 90s. And then being a girly boy, don't forget, was a thing with heavy metal.
Ronald
Nobody
Reagan.
admitted it. Yeah, goddamn Ronald Reagan, right? That's right.
Y'all are bleeding. Y'all like.
Can I very quickly just finish what I started with Tom, or is that just not going to happen?
Did you?
Okay, cool.
Did you finish? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, Tom. So the way we create categories is because there's some utility to it, because supposedly it helps us describe something useful that is helpful to society or to our understanding. I don't know why you guys started conflating or like inserting words like gender into this. Maybe because you think femininity and masculinity and like gender is like
Gender is
the same
femininity
to
and
you?
masculinity. That's what gender
Okay,
is.
so you use them interchangeably. Yeah, I do fucking not. So that's
What do you
weird
think
as
gender
fuck.
is? What do you think gender is?
Tom, I'm gonna finish.
Wait, what do you think gender is? That's insanely important
Tom,
because that maybe
Tom,
we've been
Tom,
talking past
Tom,
each other this
Tom,
whole time.
Tom.
Please.
You keep asking me, what do I think things are? And I understand the way you categorize things, but when you ask me, hey, why don't you conform to this categorization that I have? I say, because this shit is as crazy to me as like race realism, the way that you talk about gender and like masculinity and femininity.
Come on, Katie, let us
reject
conform
like
so we can just
I-
run shit the way we've run it for hundreds of
I
years.
would
Come on,
love
conform.
to finish a fucking sentence. Just like finish a sentence. That would be great. Thank you. That's awesome. So Tom, I do use your categories when I say I don't even believe in this shit, but I still talk to Azzy. I still ask him what masculine and feminine means to him because I can engage like theoretically, even though I reject these categories because I think they are actually not useful. I think there are historical reasons to why we use these categories. I think that not only are they unhelpful, they're kind of arbitrary, very fallacious a lot of the time, and are not very useful to anything productive. That's what I'm saying.
What do you think gender means?
What
if
do
it
I
doesn't
think
mean
gender
femininity
means?
and masculinity, what does it mean?
Gender is the identity, correct?
There is gender identity, there are gender roles, there are traits that are gendered, there's all sorts of things that are gender, but it all comes
Great.
back to, but roles are masculine and feminine, the traits are masculine and feminine, the people are masculine and feminine, the identity is masculine and feminine, like all of these things
Okay,
come
so
back to
I-
masculinity and femininity.
So I come from a gender abolitionist lens, which means that I think that our understanding of gender and the way that we also internalize gender comes from socialization. I don't think you are born a boy or girl. I think you are born in a biological reality. I think that might affect the way that you react to socialization, but I don't think that you are born a gender. I think you are assigned a gender.
That's fine.
And
you
I
keep
think-
going back to the
okay,
essential
great.
stuff. Nobody's
You're talking
saying
about
this.
identity, though.
So
right?
what do you
We're talking
want?
about just the language.
I'm asking you what the words mean. What does it mean?
You're doing a Matt Walsh.
What does it mean to me? You don't care what it means to me.
No,
saw
I'm
that
not
movie.
asking.
Yeah.
I'm asking you when you say gender, what is it that you are communicating with the word? That's what I'm asking. If you don't think it means masculinity
identity.
and femininity,
Identity.
Okay, that's fine.
Identity with what? Like
You can be the most feminine man on the planet. Man is your gender, and feminine is either the dichotomy of feminine or masculine.
right?
What
But
is the issue?
because you're not answering the question. I've asked you the same question like 5 times, and you're describing different
Then I'm
things.
not
Okay.
okay.
when
I
I say-
apologize. I'm trying.
What is
It's
gender?
okay to say I don't know.
You say an identity. Well, being a Falcons fan is an identity, but that's not gender, right? What is gender?
A gender
It's a terrible
identity.
Well, yeah, gender
What is a
identity is like
gender
a two-part.
I believe
What
in
is
gender
gender
identity as
identity?
well, but
No, no,
What is
gender
gender
identity
identity
still
is what
comes
you're
down
asking
to masculinity and femininity. So what? Yes, what is gender? Not even just what is, like you're saying, gender is an identity. Okay, but what is the identity?
The identity is whatever. This is why it gets circular, right? The identity is whatever you think it is. Like everyone has their own conceptualization of what a woman and a man is, and then what they identify with.
Well, you don't do the
So
math.
hold up, yo, in the French language,
Why you don't listen? Don't do the
things-
Matt Walsh
Oh,
questions.
no.
Come on.
things are conjugated in French in masculine and in
He's not
feminine,
Matt
and you put le or la or whatever the fuck it is, and there's all these little differences on the end that you have to memorize in fucking grade school to like do the language correctly. So it's like the gender is just specifying masculine or feminine to words that are in, to me it's arbitrary because it's the fucking moon. I'm like, I have to remember which thing goes before le or la for the moon. Like that's so stupid. But
Yeah,
yeah, oh, I know, but
that's the same in Hebrew. That's the same in German. Yes.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's like gender identity, which is this feeling of the self within the sexed body versus your consciousness operating it, and how you feel about the incongruency with culture and expectations and all that stuff, versus like before the identity part is added to the initial part, it's like gender is the thing that's just a linguistic tool. Like pronouns are a linguistic tool to describe the sex of someone, and it just generally happens to be that the sex and the identity line up. So we just rolled with that until we got to this more confusing time. So I guess what he's asking is, what's gender before you go to the gender identity concept? Or yeah, and by having a gender identity, what are the derivatives of that? Because that category is the same. The question.
Maybe I'll try it
Sorry.
another way. Because I don't think gender is like a material reality. Like I don't think it's something you're born with, like
not
a
intrinsically
biological
attached to your
reality.
sex.
Yeah. So because that's how I see it, the only way why I use terminology of gender is because as a social construct, it's something that people have value in, and they communicate in that way. If I could communicate with other human beings without using terminologies of like gender and femininity and masculinity, I would. I think it would be a much better world. Again, I come from a gender abolition like lens. I only use terms like gender and recognize other people's gender and myself because that's how other humans operate. Like I don't.
Again, you realize that when you're trying to separate yourself from us, the separation is still the same as us. When you say, "Well, I don't do this because I don't think it's essential," well, neither do we. But so you're not different from us in that case, but you're jumping to a totally different place than where we're landing. Whereas we all agree it's not essential, yet somehow you end up all the way over there, and we're still right here.
Okay, so Tom, I think. That's because, for example, when I argue with Ozzy, what is happening? When I argue with Ozzy, he seems to claim that there is some type of value to masculinity or femininity, and I say I don't think that's true at all. And then you're saying, well, how can you say that? We agree that these things exist. I'm like, no, I'm just inquiring into his worldview, and I'm trying to get answers out of him. So,
right.
like,
so
what
so,
is?
Let me differentiate this real quick, because we'll say that. No, I'm not talking about you. So we can agree that there is something essential that can make us more likely to do something that is masculine or feminine, but the masculinity and femininity are not still essential, right? And so that just because we're more likely to do it because of something doesn't mean that those are now essential characteristics. And so what I'm saying is that, like, yes, we can say like testosterone makes you more likely to do something that's masculine, but that doesn't mean it's essential now. And so you are still ending up in the same place as most everybody else, where we're still saying it's not essential yet.
Okay, that if you think that testosterone is making you more likely to do something, I think that's only usually, like, except for extreme cases, to do with socialization. I don't think men would be as aggressive as they are at all if we socialize men differently.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know if there'll be meaningful differences between men and women's aggression level.
Anything.
I know that you don't feel that way, but I'm entitled to my opinion.
No, I understand. I'm not disagreeing with your
Okay,
opinion.
cool.
I'm saying we still end up in the same place. Each time you
Okay.
keep bringing it back to that, but that doesn't change anything. That still means we're still sitting in the same place.
Sure,
We're just saying we're more likely to do this, but that doesn't change that the categories are not essential. There are things that make us that are essential that make us more likely, but that does not mean that the categories are essential. Whereas you're making
But
it
that's
sound like
because
the
you're
categories
using
are
both
essential.
biological realities and socialization, and you're grouping it together. And I'm not willing to do that.
Well,
And
okay,
so
so wait, because this is like saying like you don't use the word football, because I think that being a male makes you more likely to want to play football. And you're like, well, then I'm just not going to say the word football because that means football is now essentialized. Football is not essentialized. Football is just a thing that we made up. There's a thing that is essential that makes us more likely to play football, but football is not essentialized. Gender is not essentialized. There is something that makes us more likely to do something that's gendered, but gender is not essentialized.
So wait, is gender biological? Is that what we're saying?
I'm so proud of Tom. He's understanding what I've been saying. Look at Tom,
okay.
bro.
I want the answer to my question
That's
because
the
I
real
can't
man.
understand where
Yeah.
anyone's coming from in this. I can't understand where anyone's coming from. Are you saying that gender is biological?
No, we're saying that there are things that make you more likely to do something that is gendered. Those things are biological, but gender
okay, but what
is not
gender?
biological.
What is gender to what is gender to you?
Gender
I'm not
is
saying that.
something,
It's a
it's just the
derivative.
associations
Gender is a
between
derivative.
males and females. It's just something that a male or a female is more likely to do.
No, you're conflating
Writing on a
gender.
Opposite
typewriter.
ends of the Venn
I
diagram.
disagree with that.
Sociological and biological.
Yes,
come
No,
on.
no, no,
when
no,
you
no,
say
no,
you
no.
disagree
We
with that-
derive
Well,
we
hold on.
derive sociological
You-
When
reflections.
you say you disagree with that, you
biological
don't have a
Tom, just-
reason for disagreeing with
Tom,
that.
just
Your
because-
reason is that you
Tom.
don't think it's essential, but we don't
Okay,
think it's
wait,
essential either.
it-
So
Tom,
when
it
you say
sounds
you
like you're
disagree,
saying- it
you're
sounds like
not
you're saying
disagreeing with us.
Sociological
Not
and
gonna lie.
biological and the same thing and say we declare both of them at the same thing. You can't do that.
We're giga chads. We can do anything we want,
Hold
just
on.
like Katie
Wait,
can
wait,
do
wait.
anything.
Hold on.
she wants.
I didn't hear
She
what he
can
just said. Say
gender
that again.
neutral.
As you shut the fuck
Not
up.
come to the
Jesus
same.
Christ.
She's literally saying that. I don't
Wait,
care if you tell
hold
me
on.
to shut up. That's what she's doing. I don't
Red
care
on-
about if your
Run it
feelings
back
is
one
hurt
more time.
about it. That's what she's
my
doing.
Feelings are very hurt by you. That's absolutely
No,
correct.
he's
That's a good
saying
take.
I
I
can't
don't
do that,
care
not
if it's
her.
right or wrong.
No,
but
no, no.
essentially,
He's saying no.
Dumb.
He's
My
saying I can't do that, not Katie. He's saying I can't do that, and I'm asking, what is it?
I'm
what is
saying,
it?
yeah. If you're saying you've already argued from the point of like what's the majority of society's talking about, and then if the majority of society and institutions like science and sociological thinking are saying gender is different from biology, you can't, as a guy with a show on YouTube, say we're going to take both of these things and conflate them as the same thing.
I'm not.
and
I'm
anyone
literally
who's-
saying. I've said
That's
over and
literally
over.
what you
It is.
just did, unless
No,
I
I did not.
misunder-
No,
unless you literally
did.
just-
I said it
That's
like
what it
5
sounds
Let him
like.
times.
clarify.
Hold
Let
on.
him
I've said
clarify.
like 5 times. It is not essential. I've said like 10 times in a row.
I'm not saying the word
Gender is
essential.
not essential. But that
Why
is
are you fixating on
biology
the word
is essential.
essential?
Biology is essential.
Yeah, get
He's
rid of the
saying.
word essential.
But you're
continue your argument
but you're
without
saying that gender
Keep
is informed by biology.
No,
Tom.
I am not. I am saying that it can
Okay.
make you. So listen, like I just said, you can be more likely to play football because of biology, but football is not informed by biology. Football is still a totally separate thing. Just because you're more likely to play football because of biology does not mean football is informed by biology.
Okay.
Gender means masculinity and femininity. These are things that are more likely from males and females. You can have things that are biological that make you more likely to do those things, but the categories are not biological. The categories are not essential.
Is there a problem with what
I
you
So there's no such thing as a feminine man.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a clever little like.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a feminine man.
Yeah, there's a clever little.
Tom.
Yeah.
This is
I think
Because if you're a majority feminine,
I
you're not a
don't
man.
think
Like, that's how
you're
that
more
works.
likely to play football because you're a male. I think you're more likely to play football because you're a man.
right.
And
but
when
if I
you
said that,
say-
wait, no, wait. If I said that you are, would you stop calling it football?
What is the relation to that?
That's what you're
Yeah,
saying
no,
with
I don't
gender.
understand this-
That
this
is literally
example.
what you're saying with gender.
We're-
You're saying
we're
because
letting-
some
No,
people
it's
say,
not, Tom.
yes, listen,
No, it's
because
not.
Trans
listen,
men play
I've said
football?
this over and over. If I keep saying, if just because I say your biology makes you more likely to be masculine, you're now saying you're not going to call it masculinity because I say
disagree
it's
with
more,
that.
Yes, but you also disagree with it on football, yet you'd still call it football.
Not how logic works.
Tom?
Okay, wait. So Tom, just to be clear, what is
It's
gender?
those logic
What is
sent
gender?
where it's like double colon.
No,
like,
no,
No,
as you know, as you know,
stupid.
no.
It's so
What
stupid.
is gender? What is gender?
so
Because I don't understand what either of you think gender is.
Again, gender is what is more likely from males or females, or what we associate with males and females. That's it. That's
Okay,
just
what does that mean? Like, if I
it
were to
means
call someone a
masculinity
man,
and
what does that mean?
femininity.
Yeah, that's already you're starting from a
Biologically,
place-
or
Okay, wait, no, wait. If I were to call someone a man, if I was to call someone a
Let's
man,
skip
what does that mean for them?
Generally, like in most contexts, you're saying that is a masculine person.
Okay, so there's no such thing as a feminine man.
Wait,
Correct.
hold up.
Well, no,
Let me
there
clarify
are
something.
Because
In
that's
most-
where like your definition is leading me. There's no such thing as a feminine man. If I'm understanding your definition properly, if it's
It's a
based on
spectrum.
masculinity and femininity, then
Thank you.
but I'm saying so a man can't be majority feminine. Like that's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
you
kind
can't.
of. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
a man acts majority feminine, they're not a man anymore.
Right.
No.
If what you're communicating with gender is femininity and masculinity, then yes, of
Can I go back
course
to
they
that
would.
line I used in chat? Like,
Can
Can I just add a caveat? Can I add a caveat?
Like what you
memeing
think.
that
I'm
it's
asking
true,
you. I'm
but-
asking you if that's what you
Sucking
think. If a
dick
man
is
is majority
masculine.
feminine, then he's now a woman. That's what it is.
Yes,
If a-
that's what
if
I'm
someone-
saying. That's what I'm saying. We communicate with words like man
As
and
long as
woman
it's done
is
in
we
a
are
manner.
Okay, yeah, I just-
communicating
that don't make no
masculinity
sense
and
to me.
femininity.
Yeah. I need to
Yeah,
clarify
that's
real quick.
insane.
Everyone
Having
eye
roommates-
contact.
having gay
Perspective
roommates for
or
7 years, I
somebody's
can say that
cultural
sucking dick
background.
is done more by men than
No,
women.
it's an
Sucking dick is
actual.
a masculine thing.
Yeah.
If
I
a
mean,
man,
But it's
does
only
a-
masculine if you make eye
masculine,
contact.
actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay,
You know what?
hold on,
That's,
hold on,
that's
hold
a first
on.
date.
JubeTube's
If you make
been
eye
trying to get in
contact,
for a
that's
minute.
first date.
Dude,
Go ahead.
so in the modern context of the whole trans movement and this evolution of how we're separating man from male in the way that they used to just be, okay, you're a boy and then you're a fucking young boy and then you're a young man and you're a man. It's just like an age marker thing as we went through the experience of having a fucking dick from birth to death. That was the basics of it. So this thing, if you had a dude who didn't embody any of the stereotypes, he didn't like working out, he didn't like play fighting, he doesn't like video games, he really likes hanging out with chicks and going shopping and like doing all the things that I'm just listing stereotypes, he would be just a feminine man and
But
probably
he eats
gay,
puss like
right?
a monster. He's just going to town on that shit. Just
Doing God's work.
coming
But
right and left, right?
Tom's just a lesbian.
But so my point is that generally speaking, it's like there's a Venn diagram of this is men and this is women and it's human behavior. There's that like majority 80% in the middle, and then there's the like little crescent moons on the end, and that's what like is
Yes.
that's what
most
makes it
typically
fun.
gendered as male, most typically gendered as female. And so
Yes.
a man who leans really far into the pink side of the circle would be a feminine man. And the thing we were saying earlier is that a fully well-rounded human being tries to fill up both of those circles as much as possible and just be as complete of a human as possible, right? Like fucking was it Azzy that was saying like we're all human beings under the whatever the fuck it is, whether it's God's sky or stars or whatever. It's, no disrespect, not a religious person. My point is, it's
I
a,
like how you people like constructed two categories, and now you have to do all this mental gymnastics to like feed all humans into those two categories instead of just rejecting.
well, no.
the
It's we've been
Yeah,
doing
it's
gymnastics for
so
the last
sad.
few years.
Like,
And whoever asked,
it's so
it's
fucking
jube like a
sad.
jube candy. But go on.
We're on the playground on the monkey bars, and you're thinking we're doing Olympic gymnastics. It's not that hard to do.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
mean,
the
no,
way
Ozzy,
we've
I
used
100
language for
Ozzy, I
most of
100% believe that the way you're thinking is like really childish and lacks critical
No,
thinking. I
no.
100% agree on that.
Katie, I have
100%.
described the logical flaws in your thinking over and over, and you aren't even engaging with it. You just don't even understand it. Like, and then you
Tom?
even use circular definitions to describe what
Okay.
it is you're trying to say. Like,
So
there's,
let
it
me
just
let me
doesn't
check
make sense
something.
from beginning to end.
Okay, Tom, let me check something. Do other people understand what I mean here?
We understand what you're putting
Not
forward.
you,
I
Ozzy.
roughly
Other
understand.
people.
I
I heard
understand
you
what you're
that you don't
saying.
understand what I mean.
We understand what you're putting forward.
Yes, we
Katie,
understand.
I'm-
I think we
Katie,
all
I'm-
understand it.
I
Katie,
can
if you look at our
explain my
messages and our
misunderstanding.
DMs,
real
I
quick.
messaged you like 2 years ago. I was a fan of you on Prime Kai. I'm like
That's great.
95% with you, and I'm 5% against the messaging. Just, that's
Okay.
it. Like
I'll
90%
explain
I'm
what
like, yeah.
I
So-
find confusing
no,
real
no, no.
quick.
So
even when you're joking, I'm like, fuck yeah, that's funny. But if the room is like, ugh, I'm like, she has to like work harder to get her point across. That's all.
No, she
I know.
doesn't.
So
No,
I
Let's be
just,
clear.
I just,
I'm not
I know
saying
you
that
do
we
it when
don't
you do it.
understand what
Ozzy,
you're saying,
can
Katie.
can you stop
Woman
talking over
debuff.
me? Oh my fucking god.
Me?
I
I'm
I
doing
just
me.
wanted to make sure that like because if everyone had said they don't understand anything,
I understand what you're saying.
No, Tom, you keep saying that like I'm not engaging with you, and that like you pointed out these holes. If other people understand what I'm saying,
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying,
Okay.
but you're still not engaging. Like when I described the football and the gender thing, you are
I
not
don't
engaging with
understand
that.
your
The football
analogy.
thing sucks. Drop it. Drop it.
What-
The
yeah,
football
yeah,
thing
Please
the
sucks.
football
try
thing isn't
something
a
else.
character.
I am too
Perfect.
stupid for
It's
it.
terrible.
Okay,
It's terrible.
try something else.
Okay.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay, so like
football
there's a
thing's
million things. Like women are we could say like they're more likely to care about their appearance because of like I don't know. There's
Why?
let's
Why,
not even
though?
say that. We'll
Ask
say
the why though.
social.
Okay, go with that. Go with that.
fairly
Ask the
basic.
why. Why would women care about what their appearance is in a society of patriarchal dominance that's going to judge
sorry,
things when they couldn't
I'm
have the
not
same
gonna
like
go
rights or
off
like
on
work
your
things. I'm
on
just
your
saying,
totally
so I'm
unrelated
just-
tangent
it's
right
not
now.
unrelated.
We're trying
I'm saying,
to. It is
I'm not going to
unrelated.
give you. I'm not going to give you credit for a bullshit statement based on just like, oh, women care about their appearance more. Like,
I just
He's
said I'm
setting
not
up a
saying that.
hypothetical.
I
Why
just
is
said
that?
it. Yes, you
just said he's setting up a
people seriously
hypothetical.
cannot engage. Like this is insane. It hurts my brain. It's so hard.
Yeah, that hurts
like,
your brain. Other things
yes.
hurt your brain, Tom. That's not
Bro,
hurting your
you,
brain.
No, there's
you are
nothing
not.
wrong
You
with
are
the
acting like
hypothetical.
I'm actually saying that that's the case, and I'm not saying that that's the case. And now you want me to reconstruct even more details within a make-believe world right now. It doesn't make sense.
Give some context to your hypothetical. That's all I'm asking, please.
He's trying to.
I literally can't.
No, he's
okay.
trying to just pass something off and
Be
then go
stoic,
along
Tom.
with it.
Be
and
stoic.
just...
Recoup. Don't let him.
Okay.
Don't let you get in my frame. Go keep going.
Ozzy, go fuck yourself, you dumb
Okay,
motherfucker.
so we
Be
can
like
say that
MLB.
like building muscles is more likely if you have testosterone. Okay, is something that we would consider masculine, as having like really big muscles is a masculine thing. Okay, now just having big
Who has
muscles
the biggest muscles in this room?
there is a biological thing that makes you more
Sure it
likely
is.
to have big muscles, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sex.
You ain't seen
Great.
these thighs, boy.
Moving on.
I'm the most
Sure,
masculine
but
man in
what
this room, according to
things
Tom.
that are
Okay.
sexed can also
Maybe.
be have like gendered they can become gendered characteristics. Something that like
Yes,
is
they
sexed.
can become that.
Yes. So
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. So big muscles have
Great.
become like a social norm for men to have, and that's what makes it a gendered characteristic, is that it is more likely of men or associated with men or males. So
Better.
now,
Oh, wait.
if we
This
have
one-
something
okay, nope.
that is more
Downstream of-
likely
associated with
of,
a cultural
of
taste
males, and we consider it
in the West.
gendered, just because it is gendered does not now mean that it is essential that men will have big muscles, right? It is not necessary that that will always happen.
Yes, I'm not talking about essential, Tom.
Okay, biological. I don't know how do you differentiate those two, essential and biological?
Okay.
You keep referencing biology when you say these things, and so like that's why like it feels very
Because-
hard to understand you, because like
because
you'll
we're
do
saying
this
something-
thing where you'll immediately start off with like testosterone, and then like you'll switch into some like
Yes, so something
like-
that is biological
we're
is
close.
always. Something that is essential
No, you're
is
not.
always. But something that is more likely because of biology is not essential. That is not biological. It's just more likely.
Sociologically,
Yes, Tom.
biology is not always a derivative. Most of the time, sociological issues are caused by cultural nurture as opposed to nature. So I still
Yes.
don't get what your point is based in.
Well, I mean, that is what I'm saying, is that like just something becoming more likely, just because there is some sort of biological difference, does not mean that it is biological, right? So like having,
Yes.
it is not a biological necessity that men will have big muscles, yet we still call them big muscles. Even though it is biology that leads to that being more likely, we still call it big muscles. So when we look at gender and we say there are some things that might be more likely just because of biology, that doesn't mean that we stop calling it gender just because it's more likely now.
Okay.
what?
So what I'm saying is that I recognize biological realities, but for me, gender is the part where socialization can meet biological realities, but not necessarily create any effect. Or perhaps socialization can even temper biological effects. So I don't find the concept of gender useful at all, neither masculinity or femininity, because the things that you are talking about are things that can be brought down to the biological differences. The only difference is that then you are taking gender, which was originally constructed around the concept of sex, but now we understand that they don't overlap or map upon each other. So I don't find the concept of gender useful as categories. What is the issue?
So when you keep saying that it comes down to a biological factor, I am not saying that. It does not come down to a biological factor. That is where you keep bringing it back to, and I'm telling you that is not what I'm saying. It does not come down to a biological factor. It comes down to associations that are totally just like socially constructed in the way that we categorize things.
Yes, the associations are culture and socialization. So okay, so it has nothing to do with the biology, so it's separate.
Well, they're downstream from biology,
but
though, right?
When
Like
you say that
they're
you
not
don't use,
always downstream.
when
That's
you say
the issue.
that, yes, exactly. But when you say that you
That's the
don't
main
use
issue.
the
That's why they're not
terms,
essential.
when you say that you don't use the terms, you are saying that you don't use the terms because some small things are downstream from biology. Whereas, like, again, those are just small things that are downstream. They are not biological. They're just downstream from biology.
Let's do this substantively. You said that leadership is a masculine trait.
Culturally masculine, to be clear. But go on.
No, he didn't say that. You said
I know,
that.
but I have to add that in because this is the nuance.
No,
like,
but
language
I'm
is
arguing
missing
with him,
that's
not with
leading
you,
to
right?
confusion.
That's
I know,
the
but
issue.
I'm like here to help in a way because that's what he's trying to say,
It is
and it's
all
like a
things
lot of these
that are
arguments
masculine
are
or
people
feminine.
misunderstanding each other, right?
Yes,
So
all
forgive me,
things
but I'm
that
gonna
are
throw that in.
masculine or feminine are going to be cultural. All of them, literally all of it. It's all cultural. Just some of it happens to be influenced by biology. That's it.
Tom,
Look, here's the
expand on
thing.
Downstream, whatever you meant by that's
If
just
Modok
downstream.
Please
Expand on
fix
that.
your voice.
If
Please fix your
Modok
voice.
thought.
Yo, look, here's the thing. Real quickly, the influence of hormones on our behavior is observed and understood and necessary when you're talking about people transitioning. So here's my question for you, and I'm just trying to understand. You're saying that you don't like the categories of masculine and feminine. If there's a person who's born in a male's body but has to have some sort of feeling to then transition to be a woman, right? Socially, what is that thing aside from feminine either feelings or stereotypes or things that they're, you know what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm getting at? Like if you destroy the categories of masculine and feminine, how can someone transition from man to woman?
I don't
Or
support
are you
trans
opposed to that?
people because they have to
Yeah.
feel anything. I think people can do whatever they want. I don't need
But what are they even
justification.
transitioning to? What are they even transitioning to if there is no other gender? Are they having a sex change? Or like just altering their biology and having no change?
That would depend.
Like I'm
that would
actually
depend
trying to
on
understand.
the trans person. That would depend on the trans person, right? So some trans
I'll just
people
give
are
one
having a
hypothetical
gender.
example. Oh, okay. Sorry, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Can you transform into nothing? If you want to. You can do
Actually,
whatever
yes.
you want.
No, but just we'll narrow it into
we
like a
do
male
not-
transitioning to
we
female
do
or
not-
M to F. Okay.
There are many types of people who are trans. There are people who want to transition, like physically, they want to physically feel different. There are people who transition gender, and most of them, as far as I understand, do both. They need both for dysphoria, but I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on trans rights. Okay.
Sure.
The issue is that I believe that in a world where we don't assign gender at birth, there will still be people who'd want to have different body parts, but we wouldn't have people who would transition into a different gender because there are no genders. People will just exist.
Okay,
There
I
will
get
be
you, I get
nothing
you.
to transition to.
I get you. So we're all just conscious, and I'm with this actually to some degree that we're all just consciousness operating a human body, and then it happens to be whatever biology we look down and see. And if someone wants to alter that and do whatever it is, hopefully there's safe technology and science to do that. Sure. But here's my question then. Let's say again, someone born in a male's body wants to get breasts and I guess it would be at this point called feminized to whatever degree to look more like a woman, to be passing in some way. Would those be at least feminine physical characteristics? I'm not talking about like behavior or personality or how they stand or whatever, but like literally the developed breasts that people get implants for. Would that at least be a feminine like body? Like a like you know what I'm saying, like a biological thing that's a feminine feature as opposed to trait of personality. And would
saying
that
what
be?
Maybe I
I
guess
don't
we
really
can
understand
ask
what I was
like,
saying.
do women who have flat chests and want bigger boobs are they
Yes,
trying to
exactly.
feminize themselves? I don't
Exactly.
know. That's a philosophical
Yes.
question. We need to talk about that. I think that's I personally don't think so. But that's a philosophical question. That's not a trans issue thing. Like
Hold on.
Right. Why? No, but I was just trying to, because they all kind of end up collapsing in on each other if we
No, they
demolish the
don't.
concept
No,
of
but,
masculine and
the-
feminine, because there's
the
nothing to transition
androgynous-
to or from if there is no gender,
Just
right?
to-
So it's
the
like,
androgynous body, the androgynous body type is
'cause
the
at that point, it's
neutral
so-
body type where both men and women can have it. But of course, we
oh yeah, the
understand
Zeppelin
that.
angel.
Yeah, we understand that if you are a female with an androgynous body type and that type changes, nature might kick in and parts of your body might grow in a more
Okay,
feminine or
but just to
masculine.
bolster
I don't know what
Katie's
you're
talking
saying,
about,
but I
look,
just
he's saying nonsense. To bolster what Katie's saying,
Redolent,
to,
can you please fix your mic?
Yeah, please hold
Yeah,
on.
what's
Thank
wrong?
you.
What's
It's
wrong?
really
As you muddy the waters more.
Look, bro, I don't want the
Is
sub
it-
to
is it
implode.
echoing?
I value your life, okay? I know people think that rich people like you with a
it's like
submarine
high pitched.
you have it on
deserve bad
helium
things, but-
voice.
Get up,
We
you-
understand. No, when I brought
Just
up the
memeing that he
androgynous
doesn't
body
know.
type,
I got you.
when I brought up the body type of a person who can be androgynous, it's to show that there is a middle ground between the feminine body type and the masculine body type.
Yes, but
The male body
like
type and the
yes. So
feminine body
Azzy,
type.
so we are
Male and
saying that
female
that masculinity and femininity are gender. Gender is on a spectrum, and that there is a middle section of the spectrum that would be considered androgynous. Yes. Yes.
No, just okay. To bolster what Katie's talking about, based on the guy above me whose name just starts with J, because Discord updated and all I see is a first letter and everybody for fucking some reason.
True. You
Right?
asked earlier. It
I
was
fucking hate
Jube,
that.
like a Jube candy. My apologies
okay,
for that.
All right. Gotcha. No, everybody. I hate this new Discord update.
Same,
so what
You
you
can
were
just
talking
turn
about,
it off under streamer mode. You can go under
I'll check
streamer
that
mode
out.
and turn it off.
I'll look into it. I just yesterday I was like, what the fuck is this garbage?
You know how to turn on mode up.
change.
You know how to handle Discord? That's crazy. Go ahead.
Shut the fuck up, you dumb motherfucker. You religious fundamentalist prick.
He doesn't
so anyway,
like you very much.
Have you guys like fought
he's
before?
garbage.
Like, what's
I've
the
known him for 2
history?
years. He's fucking trash. He doesn't know me.
They
I
got
know
some
his
history.
garbage
Flirting
talks
right
from
now?
like prime
No,
Kai
it's
days.
about-
He's fucking trash. He's
I'm
garbage.
trash.
So anyway, you're trash.
Yikes.
So anyway,
Fundamentally
to
trash.
Jube's talking point,
Subhuman.
you were phrasing not talking point. You were phrasing your question, which was intentionally coming from a good place. I think you're phrasing.
I hope
the
you know
thing
everything's
about
good
the
faith on my
breasts-
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe
sorry.
you.
Go on.
You're
I
coming
don't
from a
mean to
place
Tom
asking
is
about
awful.
the breasts from a place that
Hey,
is
Tom is
literally
fair.
being framed from a
Tom is fair.
masculine patriarchal world that we live in. So when Katie actually came in and said the thing about like the flat chest, I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking. So like in the future, like right now biologically, like you're born and they see genitals and they go, you're this or this. It's just a one binary ones and zeros, yes or no, this or that, right?
Sure.
So
We
whenever
only get
someone
one
is
pair.
like born with those, whatever that is, whether they continue on that path based on that assignment of genitals, or they go, I felt like maybe I'm a woman with my penis, or maybe I'm whatever, like whatever shade of things with gender, whatever societal things that like we're figuring out. The main point is, if you're not trying to fuck it, like what do you fucking care? And then if that
Has
like
nothing to
if
do with what we're talking about.
no. So like,
You are
the whole thing
vastly
is, like,
underestimating the
For
amount
the
of
record,
things that
I'm trying to fuck
sir.
everything, so I need to know.
I would love to. I would love to
Is it
take all-
banana
Known as a
or-
whore.
all of them. I'll take
No.
all the West Hollywood gay bars. Let's fuck everything. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Is a banana
baby.
peel masculine
My
or
grinder's
feminine?
bumping.
So
Okay, so what's
the
your
whole-
point? Okay.
No, but so
The
okay, go
The
for it.
point is that the phrasing of the question is coming from we are in a patriarchal, masculine, dominant society. So when there are women who are supermodels, who are flat-chested, with no breasts, and we all want boobas, like the fact that like a trans person might think I have to have breast augmentation to be considered more of a woman is a problem.
Yes,
That
okay,
is
I want-
part of a problem.
If I can,
Right?
let me
That's
respond to that
probably
real
because
quickly.
Supermodels aren't. Oh my god.
So no worries. I'll
There are
try and be
supermodels
quick
with
about
flat
it. But
chests. There's tons
so-
of them.
I mean,
so
that's
here's
how it
the thing about that. My question was more again, it was more fundamentally as we abolish gender, what is the thing that's being transitioned to and from? And I'll give you an example. I went to
Oh no, that's
college
great.
for
That's
recording.
great. That's great.
Yeah, I went to college for recording music, male-dominated thing. There was 4 females in my class. 3 of them have transitioned. So a little bit of context for me to know that when they had their female breast tissue removed, they had to then like raise money to get the reconstructive part because that wasn't covered as a like health safety thing in terms of a double mastectomy for anti-cancer, but it was to like position the nipples in the quote unquote right place to match a more typical male biology. So I'm not talking about like bimbification, double D's. Like I've been with girls that have flat A's. I don't care if you've got like effectively no tits or whatever, double D super like right in my, mommy milkers to fucking whatever. Women can be every different shape and dynamic that they come out as biologically. My point was just that if someone is, especially when you're abolishing gender to the point of like, and I would, it's ideal if we live in a world where everyone's free to just be whatever the fuck they want despite traditional roles and shit. Like I agree with that 100% fundamentally.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the progressive true fucking feminist view or whatever it is.
Yes, yes it is.
But I guess all I'm saying is if you get rid of all those categories and stuff, it's like at that point you're not getting a gender reaffirmation or whatever it is. You're getting a sex change because you're just changing your sex body. Even if you don't go all the way, like she specifically is not going to get a penis, but is going to remove her chest. So it's like that place halfway in between. That's how she feel comfortable, or he or they feel comfortable now. Fine. But my point was that there was some shift from masculine and feminine still exist as like at least biological descriptors, not necessarily ways of behavior that people should fall into, right? Like they're at least still a linguistic
yes,
tool.
there's a descriptive truth there, even if we're not prescribing it.
They don't necessarily mean that people have to fall under them.
And this is what I kept saying at the beginning: is that everybody
anytime
keeps
there's advancement in one area, there's pushback. There's pushback. Anytime there's an advancement, anytime we get like more like gender aware, there's going to be the pushback of like, whoa, like the machinist at my like fucking wood factory is, there's always going to be like, we're pushing in one direction and we're trying to get to what you just said about like, it should literally just be like, hey, once you're born and we figure it out and we're all happy with each other's like whatever, and we're all accepting, like that's the goal. But like what happens is anytime there is an advancement for any of that, whether it's rights for that group of people or anything else, there's always the pushback from the old guard thinking that's not like how I grew up, and here's an anecdotal reason, and here's, you know what I mean? So like
sure. I'm all for the rights thing. Go for it. I'll hold my point.
Very quickly. I just want to say this because we don't know everything about the trans experience. Right. So there is a possibility that these are the assumptions that I have, right? That in a gender abolished society, there wouldn't be a gender transition to everyone would just be. And there might be some still physical dysphoria, but it wouldn't have to do with like gender mismatch or stuff like that. But obviously, we should say that like we don't know that. There is a possibility that gender is indeed in some way essentialized or biological in some way, and I'm wrong. I don't think the identity, I'm wrong, right? Yes, but it's possible that gender is a reality outside of like the completely social construct that I think that it is, in which case there would still be like gender dysphoria, right? So it needs to be said. So I just wanted to say, Tom,
Drew,
do you
real quick before you say whatever you're going to say, Drew, real quick.
Go for it. I got to remember.
Whatever you're going to say. In the last 15 years, neuroscientists have said that like they've learned 90% more about the brain that like in all aspects than what we knew 15 years before. Like in the last 15 years, they're like, oh, we are learning all sorts of stuff. Like, so like if you see some article from like 1993 about brain pathways and stuff, it's almost like just throw it away. It's trash.
No.
So like on that mindset, it's totally true. Kathleen Taylor wrote the best book on brainwashing, and it's on like tactics and cults and everything. But in the middle, she has this like very dense, thick, scientific like 3 chapters where you're like, oh my god, I didn't go to school for this, so this is exhausting. But once you like get through it, you're like, okay, all right. She talks about this all the time, where like the actual like things that are clicking off in our brains we had no idea about more like 15 years ago. And all of these things that are happening with gender studies or whatever you want to call it is like we're learning more and more about it. So in like 5 years, some of these like thoughts will be absolutely obsolete, or in 10 years it'll be like, remember that Matt Walsh dipshit? Oh, what a kook he was, like, you know, like where it'll just be completely disproven by like hey, when we saw this little baby and we noticed like these things in the back of their brain like igniting, and like that's like, you know, like that kind of a thing.
Can I very
on a scientific
quickly
level, not just like debate panel?
We'll have the we're gonna have the
Tom,
neuroscience.
I want to quickly wrap it up. I don't know what example you used because it was so fucking long ago, unfortunately. But you used no, it was. Thank God you moved away from this stupid football thing. Oh my God!
Football and the feminine body.
We call it soccer, Katie.
He used football.
So hold on. Wait. Okay, so go back to like I agree with everything that you're saying, and again I keep telling you, like, I agree with all of the descriptive claims that you're making, but I keep saying that you are changing on, like, you're saying because prescriptively I would like to move in a different direction, I'm refusing to acknowledge descriptive things that are here. So when we say like Walmart exists, Walmart is not a biological reality.
That's not what I'm doing.
Hold on. Walmart exists. Walmart is not a biological reality. It is a social construct. But we still acknowledge that Walmart exists because it gives us some sort of utility in describing the thing that is there. But when you say, well, I'm not going to acknowledge gender because I don't think it exists, you're saying Walmart doesn't exist as well.
You can invent any category you want. That's how language works. That's literally how it is. When I say it doesn't exist, I mean it does not provide the utility that people claim that it does. So I find it to be an invalid category. Can a category be invalid if you have a systematic way of filtering things into it? Not in that way. So, I don't find it useful to describe what you are trying to describe.
You do. You see, again, when you say you don't agree on what it is that it's describing. This is why you don't. Okay, when you say that you don't agree on what it is that people say it's describing, each time you describe it, I say, yes, I agree with that. So you and I, like, what you are saying people disagree on, none of those people are here. The
Nobody
people that you're
disagrees on.
saying, yes, we don't disagree on these things, yet you are still coming to a very different conclusion.
No, Katie, shut up. No, shut up.
Do you think?
You've been saying the same thing for hours.
Shut the fuck up, Ozzy.
He's been saying the same thing for hours, Tom.
You think
we're gonna watch the VOD? She's gonna say the same.
Tom,
go ahead.
You think that aggression is a masculine trait, and you think that leadership is a masculine trait. Do we agree with both of these statements? Okay, so you now understand that when you use the categories of masculine and feminine, it is now becoming what I would call invalid, since you are cataloging something that you find as a biological potential reality that can inform something, and then just something that you see a lot when you push these two things together.
Again,
let me fucking finish,
again,
Tom!
because you're already wrong. You are already past the wrong.
She did.
Yes, you are already past what I agree with, and you're still talking to something that I don't agree with anymore. So yes, of course I'm going to stop you because you're arguing against something that I don't believe in. Just because it is not a biological reality does not change the category whatsoever, because as I've said a million times, the biology is not essential to the category.
Tom, is there biology informing leadership being a masculine trait?
Yes, but that is not part of the definition. That's not what it means. It does not mean that thing. That is not what it does not mean biological.
I mean, if you think that masculinity is what men are more likely to do, and you think testosterone makes men more likely to do stuff, then aren't you necessarily saying that it's somewhat biological? Not fully, but like somewhat biological.
He's saying it is not the end all be all to the description.
Yes,
he's saying it's not
the definition of the word does not include
biology. So I don't know who you're saying yes to. I don't know who you're saying yes to.
So then stop trying to make it seem like Tom is making it the end all be all.
No one is doing that.
Tom is right here.
No one is fucking doing that, Ozzy. Shut the fuck up.
Okay,
or even if he uses it a little bit, it's not it doesn't diminish the point he's making.
Yes,
Even
he's
if he
not wrong.
uses biology a little bit, it doesn't
Yes.
diminish the
He
point
is
he's trying to say that it's not the end all be all.
biology on
In the
something that he
definition, it
claims is a gender
I
thing.
know this makes
Yes.
you upset.
Katie, he's
I
not
know
wrong.
it
That
makes
is-
You are
upset.
saying
You
Katie,
need to stop doing that.
Because it
That
is
is
what
like
it is.
super disrespectful, actually.
You tell me to shut up all the
Okay.
time, and you don't understand. You're being
I
disrespectful.
don't
so I'm being
imitate you
disrespectful.
in a very misogynistic
I'm
way.
not
so how about
even.
you don't do that?
I'm not even imitating you because you are literally not acting this way. I'm saying this is essentially how you're acting. This is the uncomfortability with you not accepting Tom's or mine, because Tom.
Am
literally
I
used
being
to say-
emotional? Am I being
It's-
emotional, Ozzy?
It's essentially it's an emotional argument. It's
all right, hold on. Okay, hold on. So listen. Okay, so Azzy is correct when he says that, like, just because we're saying that something is like it can have something to do with biology in there, you are making that the end all be all, and you're saying I don't believe this because I don't believe it's biological. Therefore, none of it matters anymore. And I'm saying, well, the definition has literally nothing to do with biology.
I'm not
Therefore,
saying that, Tom.
it having something relating to do with biology
it
should not
doesn't
play
have
into
nothing
it.
to do with biology. It doesn't have nothing to do with
The
biology. There is some part
definition has nothing to do with biology.
nothing to do with biology.
Does
The
it have nothing
definition
to do
has
with biology?
literally yes.
Tom.
The definition has nothing to do with biology.
I feel like I'm being thrown for a loop here.
Tom, do you think that there's 1% of male biology that makes it so leadership might be a masculine trait?
Yes, but that has nothing to do with the definition of it. Like the
He's using
definition
the
is still the
social
same.
definition, not the biological definition
Yes.
of masculine.
Okay, so you're not going to let me
Rome
talk.
say on
That's
this?
fine.
Well, this is
whatever. I'm done with this.
This is the
No,
first time I've talked in
No,
like
no,
an
it's fine.
hour.
No,
This is-
Dave, you're fine.
This is why this is why earlier I used the football analogy to say I think that there are things within football that make it biologically true that we are more likely to play football, but we don't define the word football based on biology. So we're not going to stop calling it football just because some of it might have to do with biology. You can disagree and say I don't think it has anything to do with biology, but you're still
When
going to
you
call it
use
football.
masculinity, when you use masculinity to both describe things that are completely social experiences and both things that might be informed by biology, you are now grouping things together, which I claim makes your category really bad.
That's fine.
So I
Wait.
don't want to use that category.
Okay, so when you say the category is
That
bad,
is what I've
it
been
is
saying
based-
for
okay,
the
so-
past half an hour.
I know, but I'm saying it doesn't make sense. So when you say that it doesn't make sense, or you don't like the category is based on a value, right? So the value is within the definition. The value is what is associated with males. So it doesn't actually have anything to do with whether or not we think some of it is biological. So there could be a ton of people who think literally none of it is biological, not whatsoever. Leadership traits, nothing is biological. It just coincidentally has some sort of association with males, therefore it is masculine. That still is the same thing being described in the end, and they don't believe in the biological part whatsoever. I do,
Yeah.
and we're using the same word because the definition has literally nothing to do with the biological.
Okay. And you are comfortable accepting stuff like masculinity is what is associated with men, which is fine. I don't find utility in that.
Okay, so if the pattern exists, that is the
Patterns
utility is so that
exist
we can
all the time.
right, but we
with a
label
lot
them
of
so that we
things.
can communicate them. And you're saying, well, now we just can't communicate this pattern.
No, Tom. No. I'm saying that there are many patterns that exist, and we find them to not have any utility. So we don't have words for them and we don't describe them because we found they don't stand to any scrutiny that provides societal value. The only societal value that masculine and feminine has is to enforce gender norms and gender roles and gender expectations.
So
that is my point. There's
okay.
not actual utility to it beyond the
Okay, hold on.
linguistic
Wait.
enforcement
No,
of
Azzy, hold on.
gender.
Okay, hold on. So the word has nothing to do with society. The word has to do with whether or not the communication has utility. That's it. Not society, not the roles, nothing else. It is whether or not the word has utility, whether or not communicating it has some sort of utility. If I recognize the pattern and I want to communicate the pattern, I have to have a label for that pattern so that I can communicate it. That is all of the utility. That's 100% of the utility right there.
Okay, good. And what I'm saying is that when Nazis say globalists because they see patterns that Jews have, they have a word for it. I don't have to accept it, you know, as like a valid pattern that exists.
Yes, but you wouldn't then say that the word doesn't exist. You would just say that I disagree on whether or not that's a pattern.
Do you think I think the word femininity doesn't exist? Does that make sense to you?
No,
Katie,
but you are.
you literally,
hold on.
Katie,
but
you're
wait.
saying
But you do agree that the pattern exists. You agree that the pattern
I'm
exists.
saying that it's not useful, Tom. Oh my fucking god.
Useful to who, Katie? Useful to who?
Your analogy
Who's
with
it
the
not
Jewish
useful?
thing with
Who's
globalists
it
was
not
that the
useful
pattern
to?
doesn't actually exist.
No,
That was your analogy.
I need
I'm
to know
saying
so we
in
can
this
move
case,
forward from
the
this
pattern actually
infinite
exists.
regression.
So therefore, we want to communicate.
Regressive conversation that we're in. Can we move forward? No. To move forward from this infinitely regressive conversation that you guys seem to just love. Y'all love this.
Nazis
Katie,
do identify
what is this?
patterns.
Katie,
However,
you don't-
they can
Tom,
project things
don't
onto
you
them
dare.
that are not
I know this is your platform,
right?
Tom, but don't
It's
indulge.
really not that complicated. I'll continue
Tom,
talking
don't
over you,
indulge.
Ozzy. It's fine.
I
This is
agree.
obnoxious.
I agree, but
so
you're saying
I'll
that you don't
continue.
agree that the pattern exists in the case of Nazis. And I'm saying in
I
this
never
case you
said
do.
that.
No, you
Why
just
do
said
you
that the
think
pattern.
I said that?
You just said that with the pattern with Nazis that you don't agree that the globalist pattern actually exists. Therefore, you don't use the term. That's what you just said.
I think they see things like overrepresentation in media and overrepresentation in other things. There's a pattern that exists. And then they use their pathetic little brains to construct a narrative. So you can take any pattern and construct narratives to it. And the way that we want to use categories is by finding narratives that are useful and narratives that are not useful. And for Christian patriarchal heteronormative white society, there's a lot of utilitarian value in like traits like masculine and feminine and like gender roles, and that's great and good for them. For me, not so much.
Okay. Okay.
It
doesn't make sense, but I gotta
Tom,
go.
wait, Tom, don't you like also agree that like the utility isn't just because like some people can use a word, but you actually think that it's like it's more than that? Utility.
No, the utility is 100% in the fact that you can communicate the pattern. That is the entire utility. That's all of it. There is literally nothing else with it when it comes to utility outside. Yes, outside of the fact that there is a pattern that we can recognize, so we label it so that we can communicate that pattern. All of the utility is in the fact that we want to be able to communicate the pattern, so we have to have something so that we can communicate it. That is the end of it. But she's putting more utility on it than like when it comes to rhetoric and what, political agenda is behind it and prescriptions and all these other things. And I'm saying like you can disagree with all of those things. The pattern still exists, therefore gender still exists. So
Yeah, and if I can add one quick thing real quick just to interject in there. It's like there's a good faith and a bad faith way of dealing with anything, and it's like by enforcing gender roles in a way that's oppressive to women, it's using gender in a way that's weaponized in malicious intent. But if it's just to describe and comprehend the world around you and communicate concepts or observations,
Communicate what?
Concepts and observations. Yeah, like for example, a man.
Give me an example of something
Yeah.
that you need to describe with gender that you cannot describe with sex.
That you can't describe with sex.
Yes.
Well, here, I mean, that's essentially what. Okay, let me just clarify this. That in a way reinforces what I was saying earlier, that gender is just downstream of your biology. But here, I'll give you an example. The amount of violent crimes that's mostly committed by men who are males, and you can say it's because they're socially engineered to be that way. But let's say we were born in like whatever primitive times. how did society end up leaning on one of those sides? It was because of our biological.
Well, no, we can use an
proclivities or-
example like
Okay,
a purse.
so you're
Carrying
doing
a
the sex
purse.
thing.
Well, no, we can
well,
say
no.
carrying a purse is a feminine thing. Carrying a purse is a feminine characteristic, and it is
Why do
not
you think-
biological.
You don't
Wait,
have a
I'm not asking you
Yes, I
about
do.
feminine,
King
Tom,
Dick
because you
is
keep
masculine.
conflating femininity and masculinity and gender. And like it's fine that you think it's the same,
I heard that.
It's
that was,
fine.
That was smart.
but it's like I need you, if you're going to say that I don't understand gender and that I'm wrong, you need to talk to me about gender. So, is carrying a purse a woman thing?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
No.
It is
You're not
more
gonna come for me
likely
like
of
that, Tom.
women.
You're not
Yes,
gonna
it
come
is
for me
more
like that,
likely
Tom.
of women. No, it
No,
doesn't mean
it's
that
a cultural
hold on,
norm
wait.
of women.
It
Yes.
does not mean that it is necessarily only women are going to do this. Is why I keep going back to say it is not essential. Men can carry
I don't know if
purses.
you've seen young boys out
Isn't it
here,
more
but like it's
masculine for me
men
to
can
ignore
carry
300
purses.
years?
Yes, men
Isn't
can
it
carry
more masculine
purses.
for me to ignore 300 years of masculinity to rock a purse?
Yes, enforce your will upon the world.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? Yeah.
I gotta go.
Good job, Juve.
Thank
Yes.
you guys for coming on.
maybe,
rabbit hole, I
Y'all have a
apologize.
good night. Okay, I cannot do this. We're going so far backwards to the very beginning of the conversation. Like literally, this is the very beginning of the conversation. I don't know. I don't want to go so far backwards. Words mean what it is we use them to mean. Okay, that's what they mean. Words mean what it is that we use them to mean. That's what they freaking mean. So when we use gender, we're talking about masculinity and femininity. That's just what they are. Like we can... What is gender? The male sex or female sex, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones, or one of a range of other identities that do not correspond to established ideas of male and female. And then in language such as Latin, Greek, Russian, that's different. But yes, this is when we're talking about considered with references to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about gender. We're talking about a pattern, okay? So when we talk about masculinity, what is masculinity? Qualities or attributes regarded as characteristics of men or boys. That is what gender is. That's literally what it freaking is. That's what it is. They're the same thing. Oh my goodness. It's so freaking crazy that they're the same exact thing. This is so nuts. I can't believe it. They're the same thing. So when we're talking about gender, we're talking about masculinity and femininity. If we're talking about masculinity and femininity, we're just talking about the things that are closely associated with males and females. That's it. That's what we're talking about. We're just talking about things that are associated with males and females. That's it. Like, it doesn't have to be biological. I can believe some of them are biological. That doesn't change anything. So if I say, hey, I think males are more likely to play football because of testosterone, and somebody else says, no, I don't think males are more likely to play football because of testosterone. We don't then say, well, football doesn't exist anymore. I'm not going to call it football because I don't think that it's biological. I don't think there's anything biological about football. So I'm just not going to call it football. That doesn't make sense. Just as if I think that something is masculine, might have something to do with your biology, that doesn't change the fact that the definition is still something closely regarded as a characteristic of men or boys. It doesn't change that. This definition has nothing to do with biology. The definition is not the end-all be-all. Sorry. Biology is not the end-all be-all. The definition has literally nothing to do with biology. Just because I think that some of these things might be biological does not mean that if they're not biological, it stops being masculinity. Like, this is so frustrating to have to, like, you know, somebody be like, well, we disagree on whether or not gender is masculinity and femininity. If we disagree on that, we cannot have conversations because we live in different worlds. Okay? You are from a different world where language is not a culturally decided thing. It's you just deciding to make up definitions for yourself and totally disregarding everybody else. Whereas for me, I want to be able to communicate things with people. They need to be able to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. And so I use colloquial definitions, hoping that they are going to understand what it is that I'm trying to get them to understand. For other people, they're like, oh, I don't care if you understand what I'm saying. I'm just making it up as I go because I have some sort of political agenda attached to words. I can't engage with people that way. I cannot do it. I can't do it. That is so freaking crazy. It does not make sense to me. That's why they are always so miserable, arguing with and lying to themselves. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And like, I was trying to get to the prescriptive part because she wouldn't even agree with that. And that is really infuriating. Like, if you won't even agree that what you're doing is forcing your prescription onto the descriptive, then because that is what she's doing. That is what she's doing. She's saying, because I don't want this to be the case, I'm going to say it's not the case. Sounds like the shared understanding of words matter. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I've always said. The shared understanding of words is insanely important, and they want to use some like out of this world, totally different definitions for these things, and it's frustrating. But like, you understand saying leadership is masculine will offend people. Like, of course people would get hung up on that, but that doesn't change whether or not it's like whether or not the word masculine means the same thing. Right? Like, I can understand people getting offended by that and wanting to argue that point, but they're not arguing that point. They're saying that because that's not the case, masculinity means something totally different now. And that just does not make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. I thought you said the definition of words is subjective, Tom. You guys always like conflate so many different things. The definitions of words are what most people use them to mean. So like, I just said this numerous times on the panel, words can have different definitions based on different contexts, but they're always going to have definitions based on how most people use the word. So like, yes, there is no objective meaning to a word. A word does not have an objective meaning to where it'll always mean the same thing no matter what. It can change if people start to use that word differently. Are they objective or subjective? I think you're conflating the process of coming to know what a word means, like the process of finding a definition for a word, versus the word, right? So the word is subjective. The process to figure out a definition for that word is not really subjective. Like, that's just how language works. Tom's point, social makes the association from the nature, but it is separate from nature. Nature is few traits. Not Tom's point, nature, social coming from nature. Yes. Well, I mean, kind of. It's more so that, like, I feel like this is just the best analogy possible. I think men are more likely to play football because of their biology. Because of testosterone, they are more likely to play football. Therefore, but when I say men are more likely to do things that are masculine because of their biology, now it's, well, then I don't believe in that anymore. Well, then why don't you do that with football? Say football doesn't exist. You don't believe in football because men are more likely to do it because of their testosterone. You gotta do it both ways. You have to do it both ways. Like logically, if that's the make or break for things to you for some reason, then you gotta be consistent on that. Chomsky certainly would not say that is how language works. I don't know what you're saying. Tom literally experienced the problem I said would be the case if we use his understanding of linguistics. Words are pointing to concepts, and concepts can't be subjective, or else we run into the Katie. Again, the word being subjective does not mean the process to know what the word means is subjective. These are different things. We still have a process to know what the word means. There is a process to figure out a definition. That is not subjective. That is going to be the same. It's going to be the same. No matter what, it's just going to be the same. The process to figure out what the word means is not subjective. So when out of nowhere, we start saying cool to mean I like that thing, that means that the word is subjective. That means that we are just throwing a word at something else now, when before it meant something else, still means something else, but it also means this now. That's subjectivity. But the process to figure out what cool means didn't change. That didn't change at all. It's still the same. We're going to figure out what it means in this context, and we're going to figure out what it means in this context with the same exact process. Then the definition is not subjective. No, you're changing what you said earlier. You asked me if words are subjective. Now you're asking if the definition is subjective. You already conflated the process with the word, and now the definition as well. You are conflating all of these different things. They are not the same things. You have conflated three different things now. I think we need a way to talk about words in a philosophical context versus words that are supposed to communicate across worlds, because some people have ideas about concepts they think map onto reality. Yeah, sure, but that's the thing, is that when we're trying to figure out what a word means or how we're going to use that word, we either have to just agree to use a word in a specific way, or we have to argue over who actually has a better way of coming to a definition there, right? Whereas with them, I got neither. With them, I don't want that to be the definition, therefore it's not. Context matters. Yes, context is important, but you're making things overly complicated because it's favorable for you to work in an environment that only you can understand the rules of. I have no idea what you're talking about now. Like, again, when I'm talking about how we come to definitions of words, this is just how we come to definitions of words. Like, this is not my rules. These are not my rules. This is, again, go to any freaking dictionary. It'll tell you this is how we come to the definition of words. This is how they all come to the definitions of words. They all use the same process. Everybody uses the same process. It's all the same. It's all the freaking same. Nobody's different. Nobody has a different way of coming to definitions of words. It's all the same. We have hundreds of different languages, words that refer to the same concept. Tom, what it sounds like you're saying is that we can use the same word others understand to mean one concept for another. I have no idea what you're talking about. Again, the process. I'm talking about the freaking process. Listen, everybody, listen for a second. I'm talking about the process. The process to understand what a word means is by how most people use it and what it is they are communicating when they use that word. That is how we come to definitions, okay? You can add in intent in some places. You can add in just what's being received. You can add in all like other things, but it all comes down to what it is that's being communicated. That's it. That's kind of the end of, like, that's how we come to definitions of words. It's just what's being communicated. Okay, so what is the process for finding out what woman means? It's the same thing as what I just said. It's not any different. It's going to be the same. It's based on what it is that's being communicated. It's not, it doesn't change with that word versus other words. The only time that it's going to be different is within like a specific system, right? So like when we're talking about like scientific systems, like they'll have a more like objective definition, but that is just a different context where everybody has like an agreed upon definition here, just as within society or in like a school or in the hood or like, you know, on the internet. There are some words that'll mean different things in different places based on the context and the environment. Why is leadership masculine? Because more women are leaders. The interference or the inference is, why are they leaders? Because they are men and men are masculine. What? Because more men are leaders? Yes. The inference is, why are they leaders? Because they are men and men are masculine. I don't know what that last part means. That's like, that's like you're, because that you've totally made it circular at the end. That doesn't make sense. Did we get a description of the process or no? Like 5 different times now. Yeah. Yep. I don't know if you're like 5 minutes behind and I'm still on the panel for you or what, but yes, I have given the process over and over now. Okay, what you're telling me is that this is not a convenient ploy for you to have everything your way, right? I'm saying that all dictionaries will use the same process that I'm talking about. Has nothing to do with convenience. It has to do with the same process that all dictionaries will use to come to definitions. So, of course, if you call me appealing to the way that we come to definitions a convenient ploy, then yes, it's a convenient ploy. That's what it is. Me using the process that we use to come to definitions is a convenient ploy, then sure, that's what it is. It's a convenient ploy. Like when you say leadership is masculine, it's like you're saying there is something inherent about being a man that results in leadership. That's not, again, that it's always the same people. I don't understand the issue. I don't get it. It's always the same people every freaking time. It's the same people who have to make all of this about like inherent or biological or essential or whatever. Like, it's always the same people. So it doesn't seem as straightforward as you're making out to be. Okay, if you... Because it seems like people can't agree on the definitions. Because they don't agree on the process to come to a definition, Extreme Dad. They don't agree on the process to come to a definition. They think definitions are made by their political values and what they want words to mean. That is what they believe they come to. That's how they think we come to definitions. So, of course, they're going to disagree. Like, it sounds sexist. It's traditionally masculine because of sexism. Okay, yeah, sure. That doesn't change the fact that it's masculine. It doesn't change it.